stream. The course is relentless, and I think that's the major key about it, isn't it?
Yeah, this is a super technical course. There's a massive stagger in the middle section, and today we've got slightly stormier conditions than yesterday, so I think the athletes are going to have to deal with some moving poles with the wind.
Yeah, and also, as we mentioned yesterday, there's some key moves that, like Piccadilly at the top, you've got a curl move into the upright, and then a tricky spin at the bottom, which at the end of a course, quite a physical course, definitely tests the arms and your mental abilities.
Yeah, we saw a few athletes yesterday having some problems in the last gate because you really have to get your nose down and power through to the finish line, so excited to see how the guys deal with that.
Yeah.
19 years old, representing the Czech Republic, which is a victory in itself. It's Eva Rivera. Let's see how Eva goes down. So far she's had she's had a pretty much 12-month season. She was over in Australia in the winter, and now she's down here competing a couple of weeks ago in Markleberg, where she made the semi-finals in a World Cup event. Let's see how she goes today.
She's a little heavy in the stopper on the first move. We're going to see some of the faster athletes using the back of it there, I think, to set up for the next stagger without being heavy in the gates. She's fairly nice into gate 6 there, and she'll be wanting quite a wide exit to set up for the stagger.
It's good as well to see so many young Czech athletes coming through and representing on the senior level, such as Eva and quite a few yesterday as well.
I think, like the UK, you have such a depth of field in France as well. So it's just the best is allowed to come through, whatever your age.
Yes.
Yeah, the Czech team has a really rough selection process, as all the best countries do in the world, and to see so many young athletes coming through and holding the pressure at races like this is really cool.
Managed to do a nice little duck into gate 13 there, taking a touch by the looks of it though.
This stagger section is really crucial to set up for the last bit, so we saw a lot of athletes yesterday taking a lot of time out by not doing any reverse strokes in this stagger section. We'd like to see some of the top athletes using all forward strokes, so they'll keep the speed a lot harder. She just came quite nicely into the back of 20, but I think a few people are going to fall lower than that.
We had some big names yesterday having a few challenges on this.
Yeah, yes. Ricardo Funk had such a nice run the whole way down, and then she lost it into 20 a little bit.
As I said, Vicky's one of those ones that can, I remember Eva Rivera World Cup a few years ago where she just managed to carry so much boat speed and still come away on the top on the podium, even with minor errors.
With 2 touches, I think.
Yeah.
This looks like they're all going really slowly, but clearly they're not. It's because of the water, isn't it?
Yeah.
23, 24, we saw a lot of careful stuff.
Yeah, 23, 24, 25 is a really interesting stagger because to keep the boat speed you really have to be on top of the water, and the water just above the last drop's really temperamental, so it's kind of hard to keep your paddle there. There's Ros Lawrence coming down into the Piccadilly move. It's hard to keep the boat on top of the water there when you only have one paddle, so I think it's much more a matter of keeping balance on your edges.
And Ros is very experienced this week. She had to go twice in the K1, twice in the C1, and then yesterday as well. So she's been on this water in racing conditions many times.
Yeah, and have to be very fit as well. Like you say, on Friday, 4 race runs. It's a challenge to do that in one day.
It's such a physical course. She'd have to really prepare herself for the next 2 days of racing. The athletes who double up have to do so much more than athletes who do one class, so they have to spend a lot of time preparing physically for it, but also they have to manage their race day really well.
And Ros is at home in big water. I know she used to compete when the sick line was going. She used to compete there, but she's stuck a little bit.
She's having some trouble. Sorry.
Yeah. She, we had a good video from Ros the other day where she got a bit stuck in the bottom stopper here in Lee Valley, which definitely showed, like I say, her whitewater abilities.
But time is drifting away, I suspect.
That move before gate 12 is really difficult because it's really easy to get stuck, like bows up in the stopper.
Yeah.
So to set up with speed for the next section
There's
is really
a hit.
difficult. Yeah, that was a little messy. I think she'll be really annoyed with that, and now she's getting caught up in the next stopper. So to carry speed through the next bit's going to be really challenging, but I think with her experience, she'll be able to manage that.
Yeah.
That was really nice.
It's just ducking under that inside pole there.
You can see she's pretty far down on the split, and I think she's going to lose her nose down a little bit into the back of this eddy. You can see she's going to have to use the water at the back of the eddy to get her speed back up through gate 20. You'll see athletes coping with this mistake because it's a really classic curl move from gate 19 to 20, but it's really easy in the heat of the moment to kind of panic and lose your nose downstream a little bit. So I think we'll see a lot of athletes having to use that water to get some speed back up again.
Yeah, and as we were discussing yesterday as well, it's one of those moves where if you're a little bit underturned, you can very easily get taken to the bottom of the eddy. It's a very strong bit of water.
I don't think she'll be too happy with that. That wasn't the normal standard we see from Roz, but we'll see what happens for the rest of the semi-final. But she's a really good paddler, and she'll have a lot more opportunities this season.
Next up, we've got Lois Betteridge. I always joke, my surname's Ridge, so I always say she's a better version of myself.
Okay, fine.
Super nice into gate 6 there. The Canadian
nice
coach is Anthony Collin, who's from France. He's a really surprising guy. It turns out he used to race skeleton for France. So he's really got this mix of skills that are all about using the flow of wherever you are and using the snow and the ice and the water.
Brings a lot to the slalom and a bit.
She was really close to the eddy line on that spin. It meant that she got washed down a little bit far, and now she's having to re-accelerate back onto that wave.
She managed it quite well there. She hasn't lost too much time using the wave, making sure not to drop. And might have lost a little bit of time padding back up, better than washing off with the waves.
Another one of the athletes who was in Perth over the winter and Penrith, over the winter. A lot of these okay.
A little bit sticky there through 15 to 16. Managed to re-accelerate now through the stagger sequence.
See her being really precise through the middle of the gate, and she'll be really focusing on those key moves. And see, she really used from the right-hand side there. She is dropping really low, but her plan was quite good because to come further right before that curl move is much better. See her setting up to go dry through this next section. It's really essential to keep the boat out of the water on the main stoppers so that you have enough speed to get back for 24. She's going really, really far left. And she's coming into this spin. Spun quite early. This is really difficult sometimes on spins to not do the move too early on, and then you have to lean back and try and get your head through the gate. Athletes have to be really patient to make sure that they're going through and keeping speed through the boat as well.
Yeah, and especially in that spin, if you do cut it a bit tight, you want to make sure you get a good line out, just to make sure you can get the bow down, ready to drive to the finish line.
Where is she coming?
This is a really young athlete from Italy. She'll be using her experience from probably Ivrea, which is a really good course for athletes to come from London.
She's all 17 years old.
Very good, gutsy paddler. Watching her race a few times now in junior and under-23 races, and definitely holds her own on the senior level.
Yeah, super cool to see a younger athlete on a bigger course like London. It's such a physical course. Like when you're 17, I don't think you've had quite as much time as everyone else in the gym. So it's going to be a really tough one on the arms.
I think Martican's proven that it's not impossible to do it there.
No, for sure.
Nice.
He won his gold at 17 in the Olympics.
Yeah. She actually really nailed that stagger move in the middle, and she's about to go really fast into gate 20. A little stair edge a little bit, but actually a really nice exit. It's probably the nicest we've seen it so far.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And she's only just down on the split, so we'll see now what she does in this bottom section.
Yeah.
Driving through, a little bit sticky through 21 there.
She's actually keeping the boat really nice and dry through here. She's not going as far left as some of the athletes, but she's keeping that drive into the...
Turn it over. Can she come up again? But she's nearly lost the paddle there.
She's nearly lost the paddle.
I think she tried to switch on the drop and might have missed the T-piece, which is the paddle.
Very rare that, because athletes are so adept at picking it up.
Some of the...
I was going to say the other thing there is that the eddy line into that spin is very strong, so you can very easily... I've done it many a time where you go in and you just go straight over, as we saw with Marta there.
Yeah, the C1 girls often use the switching technique, and they have to be super, super fast, as we just saw from Manuela.
Manuela looking over, coming through thick and fast.
Yes.
Yeah, and you have to be super fast on the switch to make sure that you can get the paddle back in the water. But we have seen, even from the top, top 5 in the world in C1 women, that you can miss the T-piece, which is the top wooden part of the paddle.
You have to excuse the camera work. We're trying the best we can. The challenge is that a runner goes off every 2 minutes, and we are seeing athletes taking over 2 minutes to go down the course. So the idea is to show as much as we can, but we want to just justify everything we can.
Yeah, the girls will be really feeling their arms burning at the bottom. It's going to be hard for them to go under 120 seconds. I think once we get to the last 10, we'll be seeing around 110 seconds. That was a really nice spin. She did have a problem up in gate 10. She missed the T-piece again on a switch.
Yeah. We're down for jumping a little bit as we watched her trying to get her hand back on that top T-piece.
Again, a really small paddler, so she's going to be saving her energy here to make sure that she's fresh for the bottom drop. But she's keeping her nose down for this section. She's picked up a 50 on gate 4. We'll see how she copes with this stagger here. So far, it looks really controlled. But this is hard because with the C1, you only have one side of the boat, or one paddle to use. So they're having to decide when to switch, and also whether or not they should just use a crossbow. We saw her switch just there, but especially the smaller paddlers won't be optimising their crossbow because it's harder to use on big features.
And as we also just saw there's quite a tight turnaround on that stagger gate before the curl into the upstream. So getting your bows around is quite crucial.
I think she can be really stoked with making the semi-final. It's not an easy course to race, and especially the heats course was really, really technical. And she actually did the last gate really nice there. The key is to put your nose up on the wave, flatten your boat off and let it go, which is really nerve-wracking at the bottom of the course because you feel like maybe you'll miss the last gate. British selections, we saw some tragedies happen on the last gate of the course.
One of the best-known athletes in the circuit, Katerina Havlikova, or Hoskova, as she was previously named before the marriage. She's maybe pint-sized, but absolutely extraordinary character. Everyone loves her, and she, former champion, world champion. She was a world champion before she was a World Cup champion.
She just went just past. I feel so bad because...
Is that a 50?
Yeah, that was a 50-second penalty because she went past the right-hand side of the gate. That's difficult because I think she planned to use
the curl.
The curl and to let it push her boat through the gate while she turned to prepare for the next gate. And she's just gone in above gate 12, so she's going to have to go back around for that. And that's using a lot of energy.
And it's quite... With that being quite a large eddy, you've got quite a lot of water coming back on yourself there, so it's very hard to sometimes you get swept around.
Yeah, it's cool. She's keeping really calm and composed and carrying on with the course because she'll know that she has a 50-second penalty. There's no chance of the final here, but she'll want to show everybody her skills in the next couple of sections.
Yeah,
the Czechs are amazing for putting on a show.
Yeah, indeed.
And there's good support there. The people are saying,
is.
"Come on, please come down."
Yeah.
Very nice.
For you athletes today, it's quite a small window of opportunity to put yourself on the world stage with 5 World Cups, and most people don't, either for selection, financial, or other reasons, don't compete in all 5.
Yeah.
And then there's the World Championships 3 times and the Olympic Games once every 4 years, which could define your career. So it's quite a small stage.
Yeah, Slalom's a really special selection policy. In Britain, we're really lucky because we have a really strong development programme. So they release World Cups for us who don't make the senior A team, and we're allowed to practice on a world stage, so we're super lucky.
Good for experience as well.
Yeah, for sure.
And you can meet, the great thing about this sport, as far as I can see, is there's some real, in the community, there's some superstars, and pretty much all of them make themselves available. Let's look at Sufi Arabic from Russia.
She just came quite nicely through the Piccadilly move.
Yeah, and looking quite smooth through that bottom section, the stagger just below also into gate 6.
She's setting up quite wide for this curl move. The trick here is to have the boat at the same angle as the curl so that it takes you over far enough left to go through the next green.
How do you learn that? Do you watch videos, listen to coaches, or you just have to try 1,000 times?
There's so many technical ways to improve yourself, but I'd actually say the most learning you do is when you just make mistakes again and again and again.
Yeah.
And you have a video can you understand the mistake, or you need video analysis to say, someone pointed out you were leaning too much or something?
I think it's a mix of different people learn different ways. Some people just go out and repeat it over and over. Sometimes it is good to have an either video or an eye on it so someone can point out where you are making a mistake. But you learn most from just getting out on the water and trying it.
Yeah, you get a lot of feedback from coaches and things, and that is really, really good for technical sort of words, but I think the best feeling comes from when you accomplish a move really well, and then you have that feeling, and it's a really strong feeling, so then you'll know how to repeat it again.
Sophia, 3.5 seconds up so far. It looks like she's putting together a really accomplished run.
Yeah. This is a great run. She really nailed that curl move to 20, and now she's just going to be keeping the boat as dry as she can through this section so she doesn't get pushed before the bottom drop.
You can see where she's just being very definite about her lines, putting her boat in the right place. And
that was
she's
a good recovery.
managed to recover it very well.
Maybe a new tactic. New tactic.
I do.
That was, as we discussed before about the eddy line being quite sharp, with it being on that left blade, and a nice little flick around there off the bottom wave to drive to the finish. Very nice.
That's nice.
Nearly 4 seconds up from the previous race leader. Yeah, so it's one of those courses where sometimes it's not a case of just paddling as hard as you can. You need to put the boat in the right position. Nice in there from
Chen from China is coming into the next section.
What's
These guys train really, really hard. It's awesome to see them using the water, but there's a lot of physicality goes into the Chinese team as well.
I don't know if you noticed on the graphic that she's Asian Games champion. Now that normally for prize money is much more important than the Olympic Games. So it's like they're in certain sports they're given a new apartment when they do well there. So it's Asian Games are the one to go for.
Yeah.
Did they give us a new apartment?
Yeah, free going in. Yeah, you can see there's always a lot of development in the sport in countries like China and things, and it's awesome to see that there are so many athletes coming through now.
She nailed that
Nice,
move between
yeah.
11 and 12. We're seeing the top athletes like Chen. She just came halfway through the wave before she put her nose down for 12, and it means you're not getting caught up by the stopper for the next bit. She looks super smooth through here.
Can you say that the Chinese style developing?
I'd say just now there's no specific style per team. You do see some aspects because you can tell that athletes train on a single course most of the year. So there's some characteristics that are really common to London, some that are really common to Bratislava. But because the Chinese travel all year, they don't have any massive courses that they train on constantly at home. I think they have quite a mix of individual styles, which is cool because I guess you're seeing the organic development of athletes rather than from a single course.
And they're using, for many years, so we had Martin Manoff who did great things a few years ago, and then there's different European coaches going over there and really putting situations in action.
Very good time there from Chen.
A lot of the European coaches go to China to work with the teams there, so you do see a lot of development coming from really experienced guys from Slovakia and Britain. So I think there are some really cool styles.
Monika Skatkova, 19 years old,
See another young athlete.
local of Liptovsky. Made a couple of finals this year so far. Won the world ranking in Liptovsky months ago, so she's going to be good to see.
Yeah, she'll have a really smooth style. Liptovsky's not an easy course to use on the bottom drop in the middle section. So you really have to be able to read the water and understand where your boat's going to be pushed, depending on the curls. And she looks like she's really utilising that just now. She'll be a little behind on the split, but I think she'll be able to make that up in the next section.
Can you talk a bit about the boats? That not everyone has to have, it's not like Formula E where you have to have exactly the same chassis and the same boat, do you? It has to be the same weight and the same length. Apart from that, you could make it wood if you wanted to.
You could if you wanted to. They have to be 9 kilos and they have to be 350 centimetres long, and the nose and the tail have to meet a regulation width, which means they're not dangerous to use on the water. So at races you get them weighed, measured, and then the ends get assessed based on how thin they are.
And they can take on a little bit of water, haven't we? Where we've seen some athletes in the last few years, specifically a Olympic champion in Prague a couple of years ago, that tried to push it too close to the line.
Yes, and you have to make sure you don't get caught out. With a lot of these international races, you can prepare your boats at home, put weights in, etc. But sometimes it's surprising how much water gets held in the boats. And so when you're in a hot country and your boat completely dries out, it can drop a bit of the weight.
Yeah, when we train in Britain, they never completely dry out, so we think they're a certain weight, but actually they're not. And she's just gone forwards on gate 24. Monica's having an amazing run.
Yeah.
She's really nailed the last few moves.
Can she flick the bar around? That's it. Very nice holding it.
Oh.
So we saw some potential huge talent here.
Yeah, for sure. She's so young and she's really utilising her time on this big water.
Yeah. Next up, we've got Monica Dorian,
who has a lot of experience for Andorra. Most of her time, I understand, is in the sail.
Yes.
She's had a little bit of trouble on Piccadilly. There's some water on the right-hand side of the drop, the left-hand side as we're looking at it, that pushes you back into the middle of the river. So you have to have enough speed going left to right to keep you going into the...
Oh, there's a miss.
And she just went straight past gate 5.
Yeah.
We saw a lot of 2-second penalties there yesterday.
Yeah. A lot of people, as we said yesterday, yesterday we saw a lot of people taking on that inside pole. And it's definitely one of those ones that second or wave after Piccadilly can be quite pushy, so you have to make sure you're driving back for the gate. And also the thing is, gate 6 is the other side of the river, so you want to get back for it.
I feel so bad for her because now I think she's had a kick from gate 5 from missing a gate, and now she's looking super fast. I think she'll be really frustrated at the end.
We have
In the first 10 athletes down, 3 have had 50s.
Yeah. She shows how challenging this course.
Yesterday, I think in the semis and finals, we saw virtually very few.
This move between 15 and 16 is super difficult for people with just one blade, because it's really easy to get your boat caught up, and that loses all your speed for the next stagger. We can see that she'd be really in touch with the time without her 50-second penalty.
Yeah.
So I think she'll be frustrated with that.
Yeah.
And just watch her keeping the speed on the bottom.
Yeah.
We've seen some examples where athletes who've broken the paddle at the top and still managed to negotiate themselves down with their hands.
Yeah, we did a classic one of Sebastian Rossi a few years ago in I say Argentina, not
Foz?
Yeah,
Foz,
Can,
which is in Brazil.
can an athlete, has it been done here? We saw the ducks come down quite
We
quickly.
yeah, so we had a few French paddlers come over last year for the British Open, and they actually did play sessions with just their hands, and it was funny because we were just like, no, we would not do that.
It looks
but
super
yeah,
scary, but it's actually a really fun thing to do. Like I tried it the other day, and actually it's much easier than you'd think to paddle with your hands. It's very intimidating though, because you kind of rely on our paddles all the time. So
it's definitely a good thing to practice and have a go at.
If you're a good level, but we're not suggesting amateurs go out there without buying a paddle.
Definitely learn to hand roll before you try paddling on white water without paddles, that's for sure.
Polina Mogalieva yesterday, she was on the podium of the extreme.
She was indeed.
Yeah, we saw her take quite a big hit in the top drop from one of the other athletes in the extreme slalom. I was really surprised she was able to race after that because it was pretty brutal.
Oh, and she's up on the split just here, coming out down to gate 11.
She's coming quite wide down to gate 11 to make sure that she has enough speed to be able to whip her boat around onto that stopper. She slid off the wave there, but you can see her using the water at the back of the eddy to get the speed back out of the upstream.
Yeah, you can see sometimes it's better to hold a bit of width if you have dropped, because it helps generate the speed, like Amber said, using the water to get the boat back up and running.
11 athletes gone so far, 30 altogether, and the top 10 will qualify.
Yeah, she's getting a little held up in that stopper. We've seen a few athletes make a mistake there and lose all their boat speed, so they're having to drag the nose back down again in order to get the rest of the stop. But she's still up on the split, and she just did the curl move really, really nice.
She looks in control, doesn't she?
She does look very in control. You can see her coming out there, nice, using the water to drive out of gate 20 and driving down through this next section. It's a little bit sticky there, but you, again, bringing the bar around.
She's getting pulled over to the left a little, but you'll see her trying to keep the width a little bit here so that she can come wide into the spin, whip the nose around, and then push it down again for the last gate.
Yeah, very smooth through the spin there and holding that inside blade to go around. And that's another key thing with that move, is if you can hold it on the inside blade, it certainly helps you to get a good line finish. Oh, a late touch there.
We do have an asterisk next to her name, which means the judging staff are looking at it. Eva Rivera from Slovenia.
Another very strong young athlete. She may be small, but she certainly can pack a punch on the water.
Well, 17 years old, had some experience last year, a couple of heats in Tatsan and Seoul for the World Cups. In fact, no, made a semi-final in Augsburg. So
she's carrying a lot of speed into this move. You can see her being at the same angle as the curl. She looks like she's skating the boat light. This is a different model of boat from the ones we've seen. I think it's a what else?
Or possibly there is a smaller model of Galasport boat
for the ladies.
So how do boats work? If you have to have the same length and the same weight, is it different volumes? You can play with the volumes.
Yeah, so most models you can get the size to fit yourself. So with the Vader they have small, medium, large, and you can get small plus, medium minus, and that correlates to the size they are for. With Galasport, you just tell them what weight range you'd like it for. It's usually about 10 kilograms within that weight range, and then they build it for that.
Yeah,
I'd say
because slalom boats are so specific, you can speak to whichever person you buy the boat off, and they'll advise whatever volume's best for you. But athletes will have a really specific kind of boat that they like to paddle. So I like to paddle a boat that's slightly too big for me, so I'll often opt for like a 70 kilo kayak instead of a 60 kilo kayak. But
and what's the difference is in an ideal world, is there a certain boat that is quicker?
Well, it also depends on the course you're paddling on. So for London, you'd want a boat possibly with a bit more volume in it, because
So that keeps it floating.
Yes, it keeps you on top of the water. Whereas like other courses that aren't so big, you'd possibly want a slightly smaller boat. And yeah, again, it's also personal preference.
Yeah, I'd say definitely personal preference going into these. With the different models, you see Vader boats often have a lot more volume in the tail, whereas Gala spots are often made with volume in the part of the boat that's directly underneath the athlete.
Fascinating world of boats. Clay Jacquet, who's been around for many years, one of the top French paddlers, will have ambitions. Clearly, it's going to be in the Tokyo Olympics, so that's where a lot of resources have been pumped into this sport for the last 6-7 years.
She's looking super smooth through this move. I'm interested to see how she does the spin move. She picked up a touch on gate 9.
Yeah, but 2 seconds up on the
with the touch as well. So. And we'll see if she comes down onto the stopper in the middle of the feature. I think not quite, so she's getting a little held up there. We'll see.
Yeah, very smooth still into gate 12, using the water to boost her in there.
Gate 13 is a little bit of a challenging upstream. It's better to come into it slightly wide with a lot of speed so that you can carry speed up through the gate and out again. But it's kind of hard with a single paddle because you have to judge exactly when to push into the gate without touching it.
Yeah, she did very well there to keep the boat running through that stopper. Could have easily got held up. Very nice through the stagger.
So composed through the stagger sequence.
Still
really balanced.
You can see it's reflecting in her time, being 1.5 seconds up.
You see she's 11th in the world, so she's an experienced paddler. She understands how the water works, and she'll know that she has to save her energy for this last move and make sure that she's pushing the whole way. She's kept quite dry through there. She's going to set up wide for this spin, whip it round,
very nice,
and balance on the back of the wave so that she comes through the last gate clean. And she's getting a little held up there, trying to drag the nose down again. This is a hard bit of water to sprint in because it's really aerated, so it's harder to get grip with the paddle.
Very nice, they're finishing there, 1.5 seconds up with a 2-second penalty on gate 9.
Clara Alazabal, another starting to be quite experienced Spanish paddler.
Yeah, and experience, especially considering her age. Very nice into the upright 3 on Piccadilly there, using the water. A little bit stick in the way out, but driving bows down through gate 4.
Clara's a really experienced athlete as well. She trains on Laseo. But lots of the athletes who train on Laseo also train on Po, which has some bigger features on it. So we see a lot of experience coming into these difficult moves.
Yeah, and
carrying
very
lots
nice
of speed through here. We're seeing a lot of penalties being taken up on gate 9. It's because the height difference between the flow and the eddy is quite dramatic, so that the nose keeps kicking up and hitting the outside pole.
And especially in the C1s, because the athletes are kneeling in the C1s, it tends to mean there's less weight in the front of the boat, which means you do tend to get the bows kicking up a little bit more than you'll see in the kayaks.
So if you watch or listen to our commentary, you're going to know so much about Canoe Slalom. So thanks, ladies.
It's okay, we'll write about it. Now, the trick on this stagger that she just came through is to have your nose downstream and let the water push you over to the right-hand side to prepare for the next gate. So you see a lot of people trying to take the same angle as the stopper who are maybe less experienced on London, whereas the local athletes are going to trust the water to move the boat where it needs to go.
Clara held that very well there, where you can see she almost overturned a bit, but managed to keep the bow tracking nicely into 20.
She's really attacking this next section. It's really good to see the speed being put down by the later girls. I think I'm excited to watch the British paddlers come down because they know exactly what the water's going to do to the boat. They're not surprised by anything. They're really experienced, and I think we'll probably see 3 single London in the final.
Sometimes athletes talk about heavy water, light water. How would you explain the water here? Wet.
I say London's big and slow and really aerated. So for people who train on London all the time, we do trust the water to do exactly what we think it's going to do. But for other athletes, it may be frustrating when they want to do moves early, whereas London, the trick is to wait for all the moves to take you where you need to be.
Alzi Minasova, who won the extreme yesterday.
Yeah, she did indeed.
It just pinned that move.
She did, exactly as Amber was just saying there about waiting for the water, waiting for the move. That's exactly what Alzi just did there into 3. Shame to take a touch on gate 4, but again, that's sometimes where the bows do kick up. Going for the switch there.
And she's coming a little late into that down, but she's managing to get the nose back again to jump into the back of the upstream.
Talk me about the paddles, the length and the volumes.
So with the paddles, again, we see some athletes with quite long paddle blades, others with shorter ones. Tends to be with the shorter paddle, you normally have a high rep rate, so you put the blade in the water more frequently. Longer paddles you tend to see with taller athletes. Who like to use their reach.
It depends on the size and strength of the athlete. So
Yeah.
you'd get the smaller, less strong athletes would use a smaller blade because then they're not having to drag loads of weight every time they do a stroke. She's coming really late into that.
She managed to keep
really nice.
Yeah, managed to keep the boat running very nice through the stagger there.
Really
Nice.
attacking into the back of the upstream.
Yeah.
Making sure she's keeping dry through this next stopper. She'll want to keep the nose out of the water for here because this is a heavy water section. There's lots of stoppers one after the other, so there's no real opportunity to sprint and get speed back on the boat. The trick to staying dry is to have speed.
Yeah, exactly. If you stay dry, that'll keep the boat.
That means keeping the boat flat.
Yes.
Yeah.
And being
also
able to time your strokes.
to lift over the water, over the waves and stoppers.
Well,
So into second place.
good-ish. So
Yeah.
15 athletes have gone so far. Claire Jacquet, 1:15, and 10 at the moment is Ros Lawrence. Luca Jones.
If Luca coming down, she's a super strong athlete. She trains on Werrow in Auckland
That was
in New
nice.
Zealand.
Yeah.
That's big water and it's not as defined as London, so it's much harder to keep the boat running there. So she's really experienced on that and will know how to cope with the water here.
And with one of a few athletes, with I think Yasmin Schornberg as well, they decided after Rio to take an extra challenge.
Yes,
So
they
they're
did.
adding an extra bow to their arc, and well done, Luca. Silver medal in the Olympics, and now has ambitions in the C1. Ooh.
She had to really fight to get into gate 8. You
Good
can
work,
see her
mate.
using the water to get back into gate 9. She's already picked up 2 touches, so she's going to struggle to get back on the split. But we haven't seen anyone do the bottom section amazing yet, so I think she may be able to get that time back.
So we've got opportunity to get that time back, as Amber just mentioned.
She's really setting up for this upstream. We'll see her taking a slightly wider line into gate 13 so that she doesn't kick up and hit the gate. So I hope she can balance it. It's hard not to slide into the back of gate 13 because it's close to the eddy line, which means you have to power into... She lost her edge a little bit there, lost the balance on the boat, and is struggling a little bit to get back to the stagger.
She's lost a little boat speed there, and that eddy's quite a strong one where gate 18 is there, so you want to keep the boat running through if you can.
You can see her losing control of her top hand every so often, and I think it's because some of these moves are really challenging and you'll be trying to lean on your bottom hand, but unlike K1, there's no option to use your other side unless you switch.
Especially when you're come from a kayak background, change up to C1, it is very difficult to then get used to being dependent on just that one blade.
Yeah, and we see her, she has her nose up a little too far for the last gate, so I think she'll be really trying to power to the finish after this. I think with +8 she'll be frustrated.
Still work to do.
Yeah, a little.
So you can definitely see with Luca that she's certainly comfortable on this big white water. So,
But to be fair, there's with the in the Worlds in Seo, 11 boats go through, and then there'll be the possibility of going through from the Australasia. Presumably, there's going to be Australia will qualify a boat.
Yeah.
So there's the Nichols family against Luca for that place, I guess. So it's not impossible to have a place.
Yeah, for sure.
Talking about Tokyo, so it's like needs to keep the level. You don't have to do well in the Worlds.
Yeah.
Let's
Alia
have a
had
look-
some
Alia.
problems up here on Piccadilly. So we talk about having the boat at the same angle as the curl, coming down in it like that, and that was beautiful. But the trouble is when you're in a stopper move and you have the boat at the same angle as the curl at the end of the move, and that can get you stuck, especially on the big features.
and it's very difficult because if the bow tracks up with the curl, it's very hard to then get it back over the eddy line to drive in.
And she's struggling to stay on that top wave. She's managed it. She didn't fall down into the bigger wave afterwards, which will be a nightmare for people who are in the middle of the course. They'll be wanting to save energy, and having to cope with a boot like that in the middle of the course is not easy. She came in too tight into gate 13 and took a touch on the inside pole. we'll see if she can keep her nose down for this feature and let it take her over to the left-hand side.
Using the curl a little bit there to run across into 16, which, if you're on the wider line, makes sense. Just, again, using the water to make the most.
She's quite far down on the split now. She's got 8 seconds of penalties.
Let's use this as an opportunity to have an overall look of where we are so far. 16 athletes have gone. What do you see needs to be done from an athlete? If you were sitting on the start line with all the information, being an accomplished paddler, what information would you take on board?
I think from what we've seen, the paddlers that have come down so far and just made sure to put the boats in the right places, not necessarily paddling flat out, but certainly just making sure we've got a little bit of issue there.
I think to be in the final, athletes are going to have to go at least 1:16,
Yeah.
or perhaps even faster. I think the top guys are probably going to end up being under 1:10.
Yeah.
We haven't seen anyone make no mistakes yet,
No.
and there's also a lot of touches, even with the gap between first and fourth being 1 second. So.
And you often see this with the semi-finals to make finals. Semi-finals, I often say, is the tighter racing, because you are competing for that top 10 spots. Whereas the finals, you tend to see people going all out then to...
One of our first
to
champion
racing.
specialists, it's Vicki Wolfhard, who's also very accomplished in K1.
We saw her get her paddle stuck a little on the bollards there.
Yeah.
Vicky's really experienced, and she trains on Vienna, which is a difficult course. It's super boily and has some features on it that aren't quite normal, like natural slalom courses. So.
Yeah. It's one of the beauties of having an artificial white water course is that you can create features as you like them, but sometimes it is very difficult to recreate natural features.
See, she used that cut. That was really tight on gate 16. You saw her use the water there so that she didn't have to kick the nose up too far in order to get around the gates. She's 2.68 seconds down on the split, but we've seen her do this curl move really nice. We're waiting. She picked up a 50-second penalty on gate 16. She had to throw her head in behind it, which means it's a half head 50-second penalty. You have to get your whole head part of the boat and your paddle in the gate.
Yeah.
If you just tuned in, welcome from wherever you are in the world. You're hearing the voices of young, great British paddlers who have loads of experience on the water. Let's just quickly say Vicki has given herself a fighting chance. There's an asterisk next to her name, so we don't know if something's going to be added. She provisionally goes into 5th place with Claire Jacquet at the moment in 1:15, 2-second penalties. Now the 19th athlete, Sonia Stanskova from Slovakia, to go.
Stanovsky's a well-known slalom paddling family. She trains in Bratislava and Liptovsky Mikuláš. So she has lots of experience on different kinds of whitewater. Bratislava is a very different temperament to Liptovsky. And you can see her really using the water here, really nice into gate 6, and we'll see her taking the wide exit to come at the same angle as the curl.
And we can see that she's already opted to switch quite a few times. We've got opted for the spin on gate 8 there, which, as we've seen with a few athletes already this morning, it's quite difficult to get across, and so a plan B spin might lose a little bit of time, but it's much better than getting a 50-second penalty for missing the gate.
Yeah, you can see her coming wide to let the wave kick her into the spin. She's going to let her nose go onto that wave, and she's getting a little stuck up in the middle because she had to use the start of the wave as well as the middle.
So that's the voice of Ambler Madeline, and the next voice we're going to hear is going to be Gabby Ridge.
So, as I mentioned, a few switches there. You see she's having a bit of difficulty getting a top hand on her T-piece.
This is such a high-pressure situation. The semi-final is often more stressful than the final because everybody knows that only 10 athletes go through. It's already super tight racing, even with the bottom 15 of the semi-final going forwards. So the athletes know that they have to give their absolute best to make it into the last run of the day.
And some of these athletes are expecting to go through. Some are maybe, and some are newcomers saying, I want your places.
Yeah, I think it's much easier to hunt than be hunted. So I think the younger athletes have a little less pressure than the more experienced guys. So,
especially with today being an Olympic selection race for quite a few athletes, it certainly adds a little bit of extra pressure.
What I admire, and I'm talking to you generically, is how you put your poker face on. And we have seen, I'm not going to name them, but there's a couple of athletes who were in front of the TV screen, smiling away, and suddenly went out for a quick cry for 2 minutes, and then were cheerful again. See, I suppose you have to evacuate your stress. And most people lose most of the time, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, in sports we're on a world stage, and it's really important that we represent our sport the best we can. but we dedicate our lives to training as hard as we can and racing to the best of our ability. So it's super emotional when you don't deliver the performance you want, or even do deliver a performance better than you're expecting. So I think athletes by the time you're our age learn to really optimize how we come across.
Elena Appel, who we saw yesterday in the K1.
Yeah, so
Looking good for Germany to make both teams.
Yeah, she's new to both senior teams. I think actually perhaps she's been on the C1 senior team before, but it was really good to see her racing awesome in K1 in the German team selections.
she's a little bit sticky there on the cross onto 12, but held onto the top wave nicely to run into it. So lost a little bit of time, but not dropping into that bottom stopper, which is the main thing.
Elena's from a long canoeing background. Her family are really into slalom in Augsburg.
Yeah.
Her father's always here.
Yeah, of course.
So father,
yeah.
oh,
She capsized, but she's upright going through the next gate. It's fine to roll as long as you go through the gates upright. You're not allowed to navigate the gates upside down. That's a 50-second penalty.
And
as she rolled back up, she's all right.
Not too far down, but that's going to cost her though. She's stuck there for a while.
Yeah.
You can see she was at the same angle as the curl going through the end of the stopper, which means that she's going to have trouble getting the speed back on the boat now.
Yeah, and that is a very difficult stopper to get out to the end of. They have changed it a little bit in the last few months because beforehand it was now impossible to get out.
There you go, she's really attacking the last move. You can see that she's going to come in wide, slip in front of the spin, and she couldn't get her nose back over to the left-hand side, so she's going to struggle. She's going to have to come back above the gate, go back down through it, and then try and get her nose down for the last gate. There we go.
So she's holding, got the bow down nicely over that last wave. Trying to finish, but she looks a bit disappointed there. Crossing the finish line.
Saw her training here this week, and she looked really good, so I think she'll be disappointed with that.
Still a very bright future for.
Teresa Fizerova, very comfortable on all levels of water.
Fizerova is another Czech paddler, so she'll be super experienced on difficult water. You can see that all using these yellow helmets.
Yeah.
It's really distinctive.
I quite like it when teams and things have distinct helmets they use. Fizerova, like I say, has always had that yellow helmet, so
it always makes it easier for the public.
Yeah.
Like Martica with his red boat, when he went to a different colour for a year, everyone was lost.
Yeah, he had a white boat for a while and nobody knew what to do. She just nailed the move from 11 to 12, was super smooth through the wave there, and we just can see her keep the boat super light. She just fell onto
the edge. Yeah.
Had a really heavy crossbow there that made my shoulders hurt to watch. But you see she's all on forward stroke for the stagger, which means that she's going to be super fast.
Well, you see that 2 seconds up.
And a very nice into the upstream 20 there, using the water. You can see she took boat speed off to set it up very nicely.
And she controlled it really well on the upstream blade there. That's really an intimidating move to be a C1, and to use your upstream blade on a vicious stopper like that in the middle of the course, because the potential for power flipping upstream is really high.
Is Teresa going to be the first athlete qualified? We are now in the last 10 of the 30 athletes to go looking for the place in the final, which is going to take place at 12 o'clock local time.
I think so. She just had an alright. She was very careful through the last gate, but I think we'll see her qualified easily and with
Qualified,
1:11.
that's the way to do it, isn't it? Get out of bed, have some breakfast, read the paper, and go and do one of those.
It's Sophie Ogilvie from Scotland. She grew up with CR Cats as her club. She's from Denny, and I used to train with her all the time. She's moved to London in the last year, and she's absolutely flying in K1 and C1.
Had a good season last year.
Yeah, she did, yeah. Sophie is on the senior circuit this year for C1, so she'll be going to the World Championships in Seoul. It's her second senior race.
Yeah, but her first year on the senior team for Great Britain. And
yeah.
It was such a difficult selection series this year with so many people in contention for those 3 places.
And she just nailed gate 6. She's coming into this stopper move. She's super experienced on London now. You can see that she's absolutely comfortable on the water, and she's just making sure that she's in the middle of every gate. Getting her nose down for this curl
Looking
move.
good on the split, still in with the game.
Yeah. Teresa put down a very good time there and has qualified, so as long as she's in touch with that, she should be happy.
See that she's using the middle of the wave there, and she just switched there as well, so that she can really pull it around on the upstream. You can hear the crowd going mental.
Yeah. And her twin sister Rebecca just flew in a few days ago from Krakow, so she's here to watch. You don't get to see each other so much at the minute because Rebecca's studying still up in Scotland.
Oh, she's so good through this tag, and look how fast she is.
Amazing.
Oh, and she's absolutely pinning it on the forward strokes. She's going so fast. You can see the gates are moving from the wind.
Well,
It's not easy.
0.5 a second up.
She just flew into the last curl move on this upstream.
What's the thing now? Just hold it together. Concentrate, concentrate.
Yeah, just really concentrate on being as smooth as possible through the last move. You can see that she knows exactly where the waves are and exactly where to place her stroke to be dry.
Yeah.
She's just being careful. It's fine.
Yeah.
And into the spin on the drop, super fast, and you know she'll pro onto this wave. She knows it really well, so she'll get the nose down again.
That's it.
There we go. That's how
you can see the ability there just to like hold the boat flat and spin on that wave.
Second athlete qualified, first place.
Yes, Sophie. Look at her, she's chuffed.
She's so happy. There's a massive Scottish contingent here to support the Scottish athletes, so it's really cool to see Sophie make the final.
It's brilliant to see. I just noticed with Noemi there the new video for the athletes.
Thank you so much to all the athletes. I know you had to wait a little bit of time, but really appreciate it. Well done.
Yeah, it's
Noemi
fab.
Fox, who K1 and C1 this season, doing really, really well. Let's hope she can hold the run together.
Oh,
yeah, Noemi had a really great selection series.
God, no, sorry, I should say she had a little bit of issue there in gate 5, but opted for the spin using that wave to help her run into 6. Didn't lose too much time, but we'll see now on the split where that puts her. Sorry, you were saying, Amber?
Yeah, she had a really great selection series at the start of the year. Australian canoeing has really come up in quality. Obviously, they have Jess Fox, who's the most decorated slalom paddler of all time, but it's really cool to see the other athletes really stepping up their game and able to compete at a high level at senior as well.
Well, she was mentioned yesterday after the K1, the priority is the C1.
Yeah, she just really whipped it around gate 12 there. You're going to see her taking a wide approach into gate 13, keeping her weight on the front of the boat to get under the inside pole without touching it, like some of the other athletes. You can see her setting up so that she's going to go tight into the next gate, a little heavy on the rudder there, but she's going to keep the speed into the next down. She got a little caught up by the eddy on the left-hand side.
Yeah, very strong eddy line. But using the water there, kicking into 20, a little bit sticky on the end there, but holding the height.
So far, there's quite a gap between qualification and 10th. It's about 6 seconds.
Yeah, and we've seen there like there's about 3-4 seconds between second and third place. So there's still a big gap there for people to squeeze in. So Noemi's still in touch with the qualification times.
Yeah, she's actually having a really good run. I think she's got this last gate quite nice. She's going to have to really
power on home
now.
Well, provisionally, she'll go to the top.
Yeah,
she's 7. However, there's still 7 athletes to go.
Yeah,
you can see on the emotion there, wanting more.
Yeah, she's. Oh, here's Mallory Franklin.
Mallory Franklin, who under extreme pressure put down a dream run yesterday.
She just put down a dream gate 3 as well. That was amazing.
Again, we'll see that Mallory's very confident on this course here in Lee Valley.
She's going to come tight into gate 6. I think we'll see her really relaxing in the middle section because she knows that with her reach and experience she'll be able to put down a really good time without. Yeah, see, she's barely putting in any strokes, but she's really using the stoppers.
Has the motorway line, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Super tight into gate 9.
3 seconds up without even sweating.
I think she's done about 5 strokes so far in the whole course. Yeah. And we'll see her take the middle of the stopper so she doesn't get held up too much.
Yeah. You see that, a little bit of a head shake to get the water off.
Yeah, and she didn't slow down at all. Her boat speed stayed the same the whole time. See her taking the really wide line into 13, and we'll see her put her weight on the front of the boat like that.
Yes.
To get under the pole.
Mallory's a very tall leg-free paddler, so she often looks like she's just cruising down, but she's actually being very hard on her paddles and just using the water.
You see, she didn't have to edge too much in that stagger at all. She's staying on the front strokes and she's staying quite right on that move.
3 seconds up.
Yeah.
Flying into the upstream. I think we see her going a little bit lower than she'd maybe like in gate 20, but she's just keeping really composed. She knows she doesn't have to do anything apart from keep composed in the last few gates. She's just keeping the boat as dry as she can. Lost her nose a little bit, but now she's coming wide into the spin move.
Yeah. And as we saw yesterday with Mallory, she was first place in the K1 semi-finals and went on to a beautiful run down in the finals. So
this is going to set the standard. Well done, Mallory Franklin.
She didn't sprint to the finish, but she's gone at 1:07, so I think we'll see a 1:03 later on from whoever's fastest.
And developing almost a Mardican lack of smile situation. But that's
I think she'll be a bit annoyed with her little mistake before the last drop, because Mallory has very high standards for all of her runs.
So 2 Brits gone, 2 Brits qualified. Eva Rivera has been one of the most talented athletes on the circuit for the last 6 or 7 years now. for Spain.
Yeah, very. We always see Nuria in the final in the C1 category, and as we saw yesterday in the
2 seconds.
kayak. Yeah, 2-second penalty there on gate 4, unfortunately.
Gate 5 is tricky. You need more speed from right to left than you'd think. They had that similar move in our selection series at Britain. It caught a few people out, myself included.
Me too.
Yeah. So she's keeping that speed into the back of the upstream. We can see the athletes taking this up in gate 9 a little wider so that they have plenty of speed to wind up for this spin move on the drop. It's important to be faster than the water here so that you have control of where the boat's going.
There's still scape because the last 3 runs we've seen are all qualified.
Yeah, and although we saw she was 6 seconds down the split there from Nuria, it's also, we've got a 2-second penalty, but also Mallory at that point was 3 seconds up. So now the split times will be compared to Mallory's very quick run time just then.
Yeah, I think there's a few seconds between first and a qualifying place, so there's a little bit of time to play with.
And like many of the athletes had a winter season down in Australia, so she's in the groove still.
Yeah, there's a really nice circuit now in Australasia, so people are utilising those races that the Australian and Kiwi guys use for their selection series. They're really well run, again run by volunteers, so it's really cool that we can go all over the world and still have this standard of paddling and standard of events to practice our beautiful sport in.
Yes, and it's also nice to escape winter and go to the summer.
Oh my god.
Most important.
Nuria, it's going to be interesting. Can she hold it together? There seems to be a couple of seconds coming off here and there.
She spun really early for gate 24. I think next run she'll want to push her nose down a little bit later in order to whip it around and come back onto that wave.
Although
She's
we're looking
going to go in tonight, so I'm not sure she'll qualify.
lost
So
a bit of
that
time
does
on us.
mean that Alusa Minazova, Claire Jacquet, Teresa Fizarova, Sophie Ogilvy and Mallory Franklin have qualified. 4 more spaces to go, and there are 5 more athletes.
Yeah, and there's Clara Alasbo waiting to qualify next. It's Andrea Herzog from Germany, made the senior team again in C1.
Still a teenager.
Still a teenager, yeah.
Yeah.
And she's really experienced on Augsburg, so she has a nice feel for water, especially water that changes a lot.
Yeah. It's a very fast-running but boily channel. So it's
Will the
very
new channel be different?
Oh, good question. I think it'll be interesting to see.
In Augsburg, they've been cleaning the course. They've gone
Yeah.
around the bottom of it, removing the silt, and it's completely changed the nature of it. It's a lot harder now. The water's moving a lot faster through the whole features. She's just really come nice between 11 and 12 there. She's not lost any speed on the boat. You can see her winding up for gate 13.
Yeah, staying nice and wide, as Anthony's mentioned previously. Holding the width so you can drive up and out.
Yeah, super composed through that upstream. She's making sure that her nose is down. She'll use this feature. She didn't
very
change her
nice
body
there.
position there. Really nice for the stagger.
It's very, with the single blade, it's really important to hold a very good, solid, upright position with your body.
She's really calm. She's opting for the outside blade going into gate 20. It meant that she lost a little bit of height. She didn't get as much push off the curl as someone who uses their upstream blade. But again, it's a really intimidating move on the upstream blade. I think for going into the final, we'll see a lot of people using the downstream blade there.
You can also see just there that she's in touch with Mallory's qualification time, so...
That's quite spectacular.
Yeah,
Bearing in mind you
really
don't
nice.
live here and practice 6 hours a day.
No, and Augsburg is a completely different course to London as well.
a
It's,
little bit sticky on the last skate
But
there.
Sidiris Tassiadis proved yesterday, you, if you have multiple skills, that's okay. Moves into 3rd, qualifies
She's
for the
happy.
final.
She's so happy. Yes, Sidiris is super experienced on so many different courses. And here's Kimberly Woods coming down the course. If someone can challenge Mallory's time, it'll be Kim.
Like in Kim's video there.
Smoking guns.
Yeah. You can see she's just using exactly strokes when she needs to use them. She's gone for the upstream blade on this move. It's pretty nice into the back of it up. Really keeping the speed through it. You can see that she's just placing her paddle where it needs to be. She's not doing any more strokes than she needs to do. Nice and smooth through here, and she comes tight into the back of 6.
Yeah.
Whip it around and set up for this next curl move.
Just off the podium yesterday.
She was just off. I think it was quite hard to tell because Jess managed to just bring it back on the bottom section, so she'll definitely be looking to...
It's so tight, and she caught her
catching the
nose
back.
on the bollards there a little bit, so she'll keep it under control.
So still well in
Still.
contention to take a place in the top 10.
Yeah.
And this last 4 athletes are going now.
Yep. You can see that she didn't get held up by that wave at all. She's whipping it around that upstream, and now she'll set up wide for the gate in 13. She'll press her nose down under the inside pole and try and get it back downstream as quick as she can. Really nice. See her using the water in the back of the gate there so that she can keep the speed.
Yeah, See how she does in the second.
She's
a little bit there.
getting a little caught up there, but it's okay. She's like really experienced.
Switching at the right moment.
Yeah. Using all forward strokes.
So you see, she's
Keeping it fine, that's good.
She used the upstream blade going into gate 20. You see that was really fast into the back of the up. She's going to pull the nose down for this stopper move and make sure that she stays dry and picks her strokes through 22, 23.
Yeah. Just a nice solid bottom section now.
And she's just lifting the nose, making sure that she gets it under control before the spin. You can see her waiting for the spin, bringing it round under the inside pull, try and get her nose down and make sure that her edges are flat. That was a little caught up.
This is going to be fine. 16 is the cut-off point at the moment. She's going to move in the top two.
There we go, into 5th place and qualified for the final.
That wouldn't have been the run she was hoping for, but I think she can take the experiences she had there and improve on for her finals run.
3 athletes to go.
This is
Now we're Lucy Badu for France.
Lucy trains in Po. There's a couple of features there at the bottom of the course that are quite similar to some of the features on London. You can see her struggling with the Piccadilly move here because it's a little bit of a volatile section of water.
Yeah, volatile is a nice word to use there.
Yeah, you can be exactly the same angle as your last run, same speed, same stroke, and still something happens where you're not sure what happened. She's setting up really nice for this curl move, switching so that she's on her outside blade to use the stopper there. She's going to come tight into the back of gate 9.
So keep her on the front of the boat.
When you switch, which hand do you release first?
Don't know. Not very experienced with C1 myself.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's so fast when they do it. I think it probably depends between paddlers what they're most comfortable doing.
Yeah.
Let's go follow the action.
Lucy's a little heavy on her edges right now. I think once she relaxes into this run that she'll go a lot faster. Just now she's hitting eddies and really throwing her downstream edge to try and kick the boat up a bit faster, but London works best with flat. So I think it looks like she's composed herself a little bit now, so I think she'll find that a lot of these moves are easier. She just came really nice through 16, 17 there. You can see she's calmed down a little bit since the start of the run, so I think she'll find it a lot easier now.
But in live phase, she seems a very calm person.
She
does. And calm, in control.
Nice, yeah, you can see where she was a lot more relaxed there on the curl move into gate 20.
Yeah.
She's driving up very nice there.
5 seconds back, which is okay because there's 9 seconds to play with.
Yeah, she's got some time to work with, and she's doing this bottom section super nice. She's really under control now. She's just making sure that she's on exactly the right line, keeping the right angles on the boat.
Yeah, nicely into the spin on 24 there. Now it's just a case of getting that bow down.
You can see her just trying to stay away from that right hand pole, making sure that she doesn't touch it. She's picked up a touch on gate 14, but she's well into the final.
Qualified as well. So 2 athletes to go. Anna Satilla and Jess Fox. Who's qualified? Aluza Minazova has qualified now in 8th place. And it's Clara Lazabal and Shijen who are sitting there with certain nerves. Anna Satilla on her day, she's very, very good.
Yeah, she's good. She struggled a little bit with the curl move on Piccadilly there, but she has such an she just touched that gate and she hit it really hard, so I'm not sure if the pull went right side.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see with that one. She's been given the 2-second penalty, but
she just needs to put it behind her, refocus, and concentrate on the rest of the course. She has such an aggressive style of paddling. She really keeps so much speed through her boat. You can see she's picked up a 50-second penalty on gate 4.
So that would be one of those where sometimes the video judges, it'll be referred back to the video judges, and they will then review that to see whether it's 2 or 50-second penalty.
And that's such a shame. She just nailed the move from gate 11 to gate 12. She really kept the speed on the boat. It didn't stop moving at all, and she's able to whip it round in the upstream. She's going to set up. She's coming quite tight line for gate 13.
Yeah, but
she
she's
kept it under
holding
control.
Yeah.
That was a really nice line. We saw that she didn't touch the inside pole. She's managed to get her nose back down for the stagger, and now she's going to use the feature to go as smooth as she can.
Very nice. You can see there where she just propelled herself over the top to keep the boat running, ready to keep the boat speed through the stagger sequence.
But having a 50, is that... Can you evacuate from your mind? I suppose there's no point, is there? Because you know what you've done.
I mean, she's really putting on a show for everyone, so I think there was some really good mental work gone into that, but it's a shame because she's just taken 2 seconds off of her previous split. I think we're seeing a lot of people being really tense at the top of the course. Obviously it's a really high pressure semi-final and everyone's relaxing by about the time they get to gate 9. This is whether or not they can manage the damage that they might have done in the first few gates.
I think the other thing to consider is that sometimes during your run you don't even realise whether you have got a 50-second penalty because you're so in the zone of the run. You mightn't even you do a lot of,
I didn't think next to the name, so
they'll be protesting her 50. I'm not sure if it'll be the right side.
Just Fox, let's watch, admire, learn.
Yeah.
She's chosen the right-hand line. Jess is going to jump all the features so that she's smooth going into gate 1. She'll just cut under that pole there and make sure that she's set up at the same angle as the curl. She had some problem here on her K1 run, but she has absolutely no problem here right now. That was beautiful.
Yeah,
Which
very
is saying
nice.
she felt the flow of the water when she was going down in the heat, and it really helped along.
Yeah, for sure. I think on London, when you're with the water, it's super easy. All
Oh,
the moves
got a,
just feel like they're for free.
there's
There's
a
a
cup.
disposable coffee cup there, which we do not endorse,
No.
with Planet Canoe, and making sure that she's coming really smooth through the next bit.
And making sure you keep your focus when something like that happens during your run as well, I suppose.
Well,
So,
2 seconds off, but that's okay.
Yeah, she's still got room there to qualify. And the thing with the semi-finals is it's a case of qualifying for the final, and then the finals where you want to put down your show run, really.
So last of 30 athletes to go. So far, Mallory Franklin put down a scintillating 1:07, and the rest of the field are up to 9 seconds back. So far, there's plenty of space. But
Oh, very
Yes.
Oh, that was so fast.
Yeah.
Jess will be using this as an experience run because while she does have to put down a performance that puts her in the final, she'll also be playing with which lines are going to benefit her most once
Yeah.
she gets there.
So
So she opted for the downstream blade on this move, and it was quite nice, but I think perhaps we'll see some more athletes go for the upstream blade there in the final.
yeah.
Got a little caught up in the stopper there, so she'll be wanting to put that speed back on the boat before the last move. Jess is really good at stroke placement, so you can see she's staying pretty dry going through the stagger before the drop.
Yeah.
Oh,
And just a
she
little bit of
flew.
bows up there.
shows
And
space
so
for
forth,
sponsor on the
but-
bottom of the boat.
Yeah. But again, that just shows Jess's experience and composure in the boat, how she just managed to get the boat bow back down and controlled, ready to finish, and into second place,
Yeah.
qualifying for the final. So, yeah.
Well done. So that's the first part of this morning's action. We've seen the C1 women.
And next up, we've got the kayak men, which will be
We're going to have a little bit of slow-mo. These are the athletes we're going to see at, well, in about 2 hours' time in the finals of the C1 women. Mallory, Franklin, Jess, Sophie, Andrea, Teresa, always does that to me. Kimberly, Lucy, Claire, Lise, Clara, and Clara Ozabel is the last one to qualify for the finals. We're going to now, in a minute, move on to the K1 men. Same course. If you're just tuning in, hello, welcome to you wherever you are throughout the world. I'm Matthew Layton. I'm with Amber Maslin, Gabby Ridge, two top Great Britain paddlers who have a lot of experience going down this course. So that's why we've booked them in, because it's know exactly what's going on. We're now looking at 40 athletes who had a bit of time off yesterday, looked at the course. They'll all know inside out, most of them on the course this morning, and there's a lot of flyers who are probably going to be not bothering to go round. They're going to be taking the short action.
The K1 men categories, super difficult. You have to go as fast as you can to get in the final, so I think we'll see some really exciting paddling in the semis.
Great to see people like Finn Butcher and Callum Gilmer, who their hard work and all the energy put into the New Zealand team is working well. Hi to Mike Dawson, wherever you are in the world, being an ambassador for the sport. Well done, and we miss you, but enjoy your projects. Joe Clark, Bradley Ford's Cryans are battling against each other. Great mates, but again, they are in competition direct for a place in the Olympic team.
Yeah,
so
we'll see Chris Bowers racing the two other boys as well. We'll see what Olympic points they can take from this race, but I think the showdown between the British guys is going to be insane today. Super excited to see what they can do on this course.
As we saw with the qualifications, we had a first, second and fourth between them, so it just shows how tight the racing's going to be for the Olympic place.
And let the action commence. Start with Brazil, sorry.
Yeah, with Matthew Desmond. So originally from France, but now based himself in Brazil and racing for the Brazilian team. He must have had a quick turnaround because Ana Sotila was racing just 10 minutes ago. So he'll have, I'm sure, been watching that.
Yeah. He works with Ana Sotila all season round. They're really supportive of each other, and it's super cool to see his paddling style come on over the last couple of seasons.
I think that's the beauty of it. I've been doing this game for 8 years, and it's just to see like Kimberly when she was 16 and Jess when she was 18, and then some people like Katerina Hoskova, she was already mature and she's still improving like a fine wine. So it's great to see all the athletes coming through. And Marticle's
What a
still in it.
whiskey!
Yeah, for the Scot here. Yeah, no, it is, and as well, like the sport develops as well, and so the athletes, even as they get older, they also have to change a lot to suit the sport as it develops.
That was super nice through the stagger move. He did pick up a 2-second penalty. I think we'll see 10 boats go clean into the final, unless someone does a ridiculous time. The K1 men are taking very different lines to the C1 women at the moment. You can see that they have a lot more speed. They're carrying a lot more speed into all the moves, so they're not having to work quite as hard with the water. They can afford to blitz through quite a lot of the big features.
Yeah, you'll see with we're going forwards on 24, a little bit sticky around that inside pole.
You can see he's caught with his nose up in that feature. I think we'll see that ruin a lot of very good runs. Yeah. He's picked up another 2-second penalty against 6.
Yeah, so you'll see sometimes the late touches added on or penalties added on once the video judges have time to look through the
I think the final
Juan
time...
Crespo to go. Before we go into that, let's just say Juan Crespo, who is one of the best in the world on sail. So he'll be hoping to do something there. How can he go today? Amber Maslin, what's going to be the final time?
I think around 90 seconds is going to be the final time. We just saw Matthew Desna go in 1:01. I think he lost a lot of time at the bottom. I think we'll see Joe Clark and Bradley and potentially Chris as well going in the early 90s. Klein is really experienced on this course. He spent quite a lot of time here during the World Cup and the World Championships a few years ago. So he understands the water really well. He's a really experienced athlete, so he knows how to handle the challenges that these moves have.
Yeah, there are quite a few challenges that come with this course in London today. As you said, with the kayak men pushing it quite a bit more, so 5 seconds up from you on there.
That's the first 9 gates.
Yeah, and the first 9 gates. We'll see how the rest of the course goes.
Yeah. the K1 men are going to want to really get their nose over into the middle of that feature so that they go into gate 12 without stopping at all.
Yeah, and they will try and keep the bows up above the gate and sneak, as we just saw there, into 13.
I think for Spain it's important. The last time out, last Olympic cycle, they didn't actually manage to put any K1 men in the Olympics, so it's going to be... I think everything's in their favour. They've organised the World Championships.
Yeah, they have such good paddlers. That was tragic to see nobody qualify the Olympic spot.
Yeah.
We're just seeing Juan dealing with the challenges of this section. He's a little heavy in this move. You'll see the K1 men taking a much different approach to the C1 women. They'll drop into the upstreams above the poles and try and get just their head around the gate, which is much riskier. And they'll all also go forwards on gate 24, I think. Although we did see some of the C1 women took really fast lines through the spin. So I wonder if any of the guys are going to try that as well.
And so 2 of 40 to go, and in first place, well, let's have a look.
He's done a 95, so he's 6 seconds up on Matthew Desno.
But we also see on this course, like in qualifications, there were a few spin moves that were questionable whether to be spin or forwards, and Joe Clark set down the fastest time with 2 spins on those moves. So wouldn't be surprised if you do see some of the top guys taking what you could consider the safer moves.
So Christian Didiongi, I saw him do 4 or 5 Eskimo turns yesterday, mainly because he was one of the top men in the extreme scale. Former world champion there, by the way, but let's see how he goes for Italy.
He came really nice into that move on Piccadilly. We're seeing a lot of the guys going super hard in the top section and they're losing a lot of speed at the bottom, so I think there may be some tactical... he's just picked up a 50-second penalty on gate 5.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
I didn't see that.
Saw him duck under, but...
It may have been a half head. It may be clearer to see for the judges on the other side.
Let's see what happens there. There is analysis.
His running time's faster than it was for Juan, so I think he's going to have to just see what he can do for the rest of the run and hope that that penalty gets taken off.
Yeah, and we will sometimes see changes in the results due to protests throughout the racing.
He came in quite low into 13. I think we'll see the faster guys drop in front of that gate and sweep the nose around the poles. I just picked up a big touch from gate 16. I think the key to the stagger sequence as well is using the water and making sure that you're not doing any reverse strokes. He's pretty low into gate 20 there, but again, you can take a lot more speed from the back of the eddy than from the top of it.
When you have athletes that are going to go in 30-40 minutes time, are they still taking on information? So what I noticed in the last couple of days is some of the, we won't name them, but some of the world's top athletes didn't really look at the demo runs. They know what's going to do. So I wonder what the balance is between taking information on the day and knowing what you're going to do.
Yeah, it really depends between individuals. Some people prefer not to look at the course before the race, like the day before, because it means you can stress about it all night. Oh, he's gutted. And then in the morning you have the opportunity to watch other people from your own class, so it may be slightly more relevant than the demo runs.
If you are conscious of the environment and you want someone to make you a little house, this is your man. Architect, student, Ben Hayward.
Yeah, Ben had to do his second run the other day on Friday, so he'll be really looking to put down something special in the semi-final and make the final.
He always used to be like a little wind-up toy. He just used to go make a few mistakes, but let's see how he's calmed down a bit.
Calmed his paddling style down quite a bit.
Great to watch though.
Yeah, it's nice to see his style mature a little. He's still really powerful and still really reps, as we can see in this section. But you can see that he's like trying to use the water more than he used to. That was really tight around gate 5, but
you only have one gear.
Yeah, he's managing his speed a little bit better here. You can see he's using the water rather than trying to bulldoze. But he's going to come tight into this upstream, sweep around it. I think he may have lost a little time there, but I think he can pull it back in the middle section.
Yeah, I think the good thing to see with Ben...
he's trying to go forwards on gate 11. We haven't seen anyone do this yet. And he's going to really struggle to get onto that wave.
No, so well done for trying, but I think it hasn't worked out this time.
Yeah, it's a really bold move to try and go forwards there, because it's so close to the moving water that's going back downstream again, so it's very hard to get your nose back upstream onto the wave. If he pulled it off, I'm not sure it would have been quicker, but it was cool to see someone try it. I don't think we'll see many other people do it forwards.
It's early in the season there, and that's why Ben is sometimes leads the whole qualifications, just because he's capable of doing things that most other people don't judge worthy of the risk.
Exactly,
it's a lot of the time it's whether the athletes are confident to deliver those high-risk moves, and quite often you'll see that they'll be able to deliver them, and it's quite often a confidence game more than an ability game, because a lot of these battles
I think it's all about the journey as well, putting your philosophy
yeah.
and aspect in.
Yeah, and Ben is pushing the limits of the sport. He's doing things that nobody else is going to try, and we need to see this kind of thing in slalom to keep raising the game on how people approach moves like that. He just nailed that forwards. He's getting really stuck in the last gate. He'll sprint to the finish, but I think we won't see that in the final.
See again this season. It's a very emotional course, this. I remember seeing Ben in 2015 at the Worlds, but he gives everything. Here we go. Next to go is Samuel Ernals, one of the most exciting paddlers of his generation.
Yeah, he's Juan's colleague on the Spanish team. He's chosen the right line. I think we'll see a lot of K1 men choose the right line because it's shorter and they have the power to really sprint over that distance. Samo has a really exciting style because he spends a lot of time on the back of the boat in big features, so sometimes we see him lose control of his nose, but if he can keep that under control and keep really smooth through these moves, I think we'll see a really fast running time.
And he has this extra, damn it, it's all gone wrong gear. In the sense that in Seo once he made loads of faults, and halfway around he thought, I'm going to win this, and
maximum effort.
He can just ramp it up, and the thing is the ability to do that and keep control. As Amber said, keeping control of the bow and slipping a little bit on the wave.
He was the second up, but it's
holding
probably given that back now.
Yeah, at least half a second he's probably getting back. That was really fast in 12.
Yeah, but you can see, we'll see what he does in 13 here, but he's one of those paddlers that will put the bow right above and is happy to chuck the bow around. Yeah, so they've gained that back again there. We'll see on this next split.
The special thing about these moves in London, on this stagger in the middle, we just saw him take a touch there. The stagger in the middle and the two spins on the drops, you have to keep the boat completely flat in the sense that you don't put your tail in the water, because then the water takes control of the back of the boat and it becomes really difficult to keep light in the rest of the moves. So we're going to see a lot of the guys trying to keep the boat as flat as possible, but when a lot of them already use their tail a lot, like Samo, it's going to be difficult. And forwards again.
Holding the inside pole very nice in 24.
The trouble with going forwards on this last move is that it's harder to get your nose down again for the last gate. We're seeing a lot of people getting caught up in the stop there. Because you come onto the wave later, which means you have to keep your nose up for longer, which means you're more at the mercy of the move.
So
next to go for Japan, it's Tako Yoshida, 30 years old. Let's see how he can go forward. He's been in one of the world ranking events this year in Sulcan. He was in Penrith, so plenty of international exposure. And clearly with Japan going to host the 2020 Olympics, it's going to be a lot more fun, pressure, call it what you like. Let's see how he can adapt to the course.
He's making me smile on the start line because he's grinning. He looks super chill up there. He took the middle of the course at the top, which is quite a wet line really, but actually he seems to have it under control. That's pretty nice into the first upstream, but we want to see him keeping dry through this next section.
But can you imagine all the excitement the Brits had and the Brazilians have? It's now the Japanese who have the turn to have a lot of local exposure as well.
Yeah, and see whether some of the British paddlers have already been over to Japan and paddled over there with some of the Japanese paddlers, which has been great to see. And also to see, the development of the paddlers over there ahead of the 2020 Olympics in Tokyo.
With the 2-second penalty, it's going to be difficult. He's now 4 seconds back.
I think we'll see 10 clean runs go into the final for the K1 men, but it's really cool to see him matching at least the other K1 men's times of more experienced athletes. Japan's already got a lot of well-decorated paddlers. So Takuya Haneda took bronze at the Olympic Games in Rio, and it's really cool to see some of the nations that we don't often see on the podiums in international races.
But if you look at Tashu, his world ranking is 89, so far doing well today to make it into the semi-final, which is the top 40 athletes.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Let's take a bit of a tight line out of the upstream there, but managed to hold it around the inside pole. Keep it nice and dry down through this last stagger sequence.
That was really good into gate 22. You can see him
going for the spin there on the last downstream, but losing the bow a little bit on that second wave.
And really powering over the line. So Tako Yoshida goes in provisional third, and if everyone could give that sort of smile, that's what we want.
Brilliant to see.
What a good sportsman. Really nice to see. We saw him pull off some really amazing moves there. I think the guys can be happy if they can do gate 22 to 23 as smooth as he did. So he really kept the boat dry, and you saw that his boat actually gained speed going down the drop rather than coping with the water like everyone else.
Andrej Malek.
Indeed.
Andrej Malek's a young guy from Slovakia. He trains in Bratislava, so he's used to big difficult features, and he'll be keeping the pressure the Slovak paddlers all have a really good mindset in these situations. So
And he's been on the top of the junior leagues for quite some years now, so although he's 24, he's still he's massive experience.
yeah, super experienced guy. He's had some really good results at under 23 level. It's really nice to see him on the senior circuit and just see what he can do.
But still ranking 47.
Yeah, so with some of these athletes that have competed within the younger categories, they might have been in the senior circuit so much. So I'm sure that you'll see his ICF ranking.
That was really smooth into gate 12.
Yeah, very nice.
He kept the speed on the boat there because he met the stop it in the middle of the feature, not at the end of it. You see him drop in front of the gate there and sweep around it. He got a little caught up.
It was a little bit of height in 13, meaning that you had to put a bit of work in to drive up, but very nice through the stagger sequence there.
So far clean.
Yeah, and you can see the men really holding the speed through this
Look
stagger.
at those 2 seconds out, well done.
Oh,
no,
losing a
but
bit of height.
Talking about time, I'm going to just say something briefly. Big data is now coming to influence all sports. Our man at the ICF who looks into big data and statistics is called John Gregory. He just sent me a message. He's statistically, by mathematics, the winning time today is going to be 88 seconds. So there you go, John, you put it out there.
I think the fastest time
Anyway, let's go on
could
to this.
be 88 seconds, but I think we'll see 90 to 91 in the semi-final.
Yeah.
That was nice
depends on-
through the last gate. I think... Oh, God, sprint, go! Yes.
Nice.
Cool,
Just
so he's gone into the lead. I'm not sure if that... Oh, he's got an asterisk on his name.
He has. So we'll have to see whether there's...
Oh, and it's
all
come
those
off
different
again.
Come off
gates.
as
Yeah.
I go on to Christian Diongi.
Yeah.
Michael Taylor next to go for
So
Canada,
the Canadian.
the Olympic mate. If you're watching in Canada, good morning or good night, depending on where your partying was.
Yeah, Canadians have definitely got the best dressed for today. We saw Ben's, I believe he's sponsored by Balzac Coffee, but had his tag on, and then Michael's gone for the tropical look.
Yeah, I has a tropical, I think that's a PQK tag, and they're providing some of the best kit in the world with the new streamlined buoyancy aids. They're called Racer ST, which lets you go a lot closer to the poles. Hiko also provides something similar called a jackpot, and it's really upped the game in slalom. Although we did see Sidarius Tasiadis win C1m yesterday with a normal classic buoyancy aid.
Like a life-saving boy.
Yeah, so you don't...
Yeah, he always does, never change. 0.55 it up. Well done, Michael.
Yeah, very nice. Very
Considering-
smooth at top of the section so far.
He came quite low into the first two upstreams, so it's really cool that he's keeping the speed on the boat and able to get up on the split anyway. That was really tight around gate 12.
Yeah.
He'll be aiming for the wide line into gate 13 and not going for the classic sweep like the other men.
Yeah, going for a standard there in 13, but keeping the boat running.
This is really fast. We can see the power the men are taking through this move, where the C1 women were having to do a big turning stroke to get through the stagger. The men are paddling straight through it without any turning strokes. He's lost 4 seconds in the last section, and he's come really low to his upstream, so I think...
Again, another one of the athletes who's been out in Australia in the winter. Perhaps it's easier for me to say which ones happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't.
No. Next year, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah, it still looks pretty solid down here in this bottom section. So going for the spin, a little bit of time there in 24, but see what...
I had to do a reverse stroke there in the upstream. Like, I think the spin should optimise the nice line through the last gate, but people who go forwards are going to have to do something really special to get in above that feature to go clean through it.
Yeah, because with the forwards you can carry quite a lot of speed onto that second wave, but with it being the downstream, if you go into the upstream it's very nice, but you want to get the bows down and driving before the finish.
This is Dariusz Popiela. He's a really experienced guy from Poland. We see him bring an extra gear to racing. There was one race he did in Tassen where I don't think I've ever seen someone sprint that fast from gate 1 to the finish line. He just didn't stop.
Yeah.
And clearly in the Europeans last month, last month now, he came second.
Yeah, he did amazing. It's really cool to see the Polish guys bringing in some results.
Yeah. I believe he was last, I think he'd won the semis and put down a really good final run there. Or one of the last stop anyway.
Super smooth through this section. You can see he's having to balance on the back of the boat a little bit rather than driving through it the whole time, so he made
Very
it
nice through gate 9
Well,
there.
it's 0.7 up.
Yeah, he didn't lose that much time.
Yeah, I think he might have taken that in that single upstream.
Yeah, and you can see him jumping onto the middle of the wave, getting caught up a tiny bit, but actually going really fast into gate 12, straight out again into the flow. And I think we'll see him put his nose in front of the poles here on gate 13 and sweep around the gate like that. We're seeing a lot of the guys have their nose up for slightly longer than I think they'd like. And their bit is because you have to really commit to that sweep before you do it. So it's a scary move, but I think it's worth the time that you can make up with.
And one thing I have noticed with these, so he's
He's gone for the downstream blade in that curl move, and I think it did bring him into the gate nice and tight, but I think the later on guys are going to use their upstream blade.
Yeah, a little bit sticky on that little wave there, but trying to keep the bows dry here through. You can see him very emphasise that jump stroke through above the drop there.
Yeah, you can see him timing his strokes really carefully in that section above the drop to keep the nose as dry as he can. He's getting really stuck in the last gate because he edged downstream.
So very good, but maybe not as good as it could be.
Yeah,
still into first place for the meantime. We'll have to see how that holds up.
I think he knows that wasn't as fast as it could have been, so he'll be watching the other guys come down anxiously.
World champion here in 2015, just become a father for the first time. Yuri Piskovic, who gives it 110% every time.
Yeah, so he had to do a second run in qualifications on Friday, put a blinder down on the second runs. I think he likes just to show what he's capable of. So you have to see what he does today.
There's another one gone from the middle of the features there, I guess because it's the straightest line to gate one, and if anyone can jump the moves, it'll be Yuri.
Yeah.
He's having to fight a little into the back of the upstream. We saw Mallory Franklin earlier on not have to do any strokes between gate 2 and 3. So I think if the K1 men can learn from the girls in C1, that would be quite good.
And Yuri is one of the best neckers there. He just doesn't put more of the body around the pole as you have to.
No, he's so in control of where his boat and body is. He doesn't have to keep the speed on the boat using the wide lines like some of the other K1 men.
Yeah.
He is down on the split.
I think there's been quite a few sticky bits on that top section, so hopefully he can keep it a little bit drier on the rest of the course.
That wasn't pretty, but it's fast.
No, he kept it really under control there. I was really surprised because he lost his nose up because he put his tail down.
Which Yuri quite often will do. He's quite confident putting the tail down and playing on the back on his.
That ups exactly how the other men are going to want to do it. I think he's not having to do any turning strokes at all, and his nose was down immediately. So I think now he's
made time up.
Aim for the
yes,
right
1.26 up now. So he's made a couple of seconds up in the last middle section.
Very nice on that into up 20, taking quite a tight line out to 21, but
I think there'll be some key time made up there, taking the tight line out. It's scarier and more intimidating because you feel like you're going to miss the next gate, but it's much faster in the end.
Yeah, very nice.
Yuri is the last of the 10 athletes that had to go through the second run.
We've seen him go forwards, and we've also seen him get stuck on this move. I think the K1 men need to think about whether or not they spin to go clean through the last feature, or... And that was really fast.
Nice.
And
90 seconds.
99. I'm going to take that as a 91 because I guess it would be 91.
Yeah, 91 is 91, yeah.
I think the British guys are going to really challenge that time. I think we'll see faster than 90 seconds perhaps.
But it's put a marker on the board at what's possible out there from someone doing it. So we now move into the athletes who have only had one run so far in the heats. And it's Nikita from Slovenia. 22 years old, ranking 44.
Very
compatriot with King Kauser, then it's
King Kauser. Yeah, the Slovenians have really smooth styles. They are able to keep the boat on top of the water really nice.
Yeah.
A lot of them are using this boat Kaipi fins, which is a really nice model, especially for bigger water. So people from Tassen and Leipzig and London, a lot of them use this model.
Along with, as you can see, the athletes of the team walking around down with them with the green tops on.
Yeah, they've got really
which, along with the Portuguese and the Brazilians, are the most irritating when you're trying to do a little pop-up thing because you have to change the green screen to a blue screen.
Oh, yeah, of course,
Yeah, of course.
He's so smooth through this section. He's taking a wide line through gate 13, so not as fast as Yuri's, but I think he's trying to stay under control for this section.
Yeah, and I think
you can see from his face he's really enjoying this stagger move.
It's always nice when you see that relaxed. You can just see he's just enjoying the run.
Very much touch of that.
So he's 2 seconds up, but we know that Yuri absolutely, he's nailed this middle section.
He's a little low in gate 20. I think he'll have lost quite a lot of time there, but if he can bring it back on that last move where everybody else is getting stuck in the last gate, I think he could be challenging for place in the final.
Yeah. It's going to be a very tight race to make today's final.
He's just going to bring the nose down. Oh, and that was
nice.
much nicer. That's the nicest we've seen this done so far today. He really got that nose down and powering through the finish.
Well, seems to have a chance, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Weather-wise, it seems to be covering over a little bit more. Wind is not picking up.
Yeah, hoping it stays still for the rest of this morning's racing.
We have the king of Po, Boris Nouveau, is about to take on London. He's a really experienced paddler again. We see a lot of the older guys doing super well on bigger water because they have perhaps a better understanding of how the water behaves compared to your performance, and perhaps a more solid mental approach.
Really one of the, like you said, the
Very
most
nice.
solid performers out there, 2014 world champion.
That was beautiful
Yeah.
into gate 3. It's such a nice line. He's barely having to do any strokes. You can see that he's really using the water here. He's not powering through it. He's not trying to jump the stoppers, but he's coming so smooth and so flat through all the gates. He's not losing any time anywhere. I think he'll be around 2 seconds up in the
So
split.
he doesn't mess around, does he? He knows he wants to go and he does it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not doing any extra strokes anywhere. Yet he's nearly 2 seconds up in the split.
Like you said, you didn't have the smoothest top section, so there is definitely time to play with for all these other paddlers coming down.
Yeah, he was a little slow from 11 to 12 because he didn't come into the middle of the feature. You could see him check to make sure his elbow went under the gate instead of touching it. That was a little slow in gate 13 as well, but you can see him really winding up for this stagger here. I think he'll just push over.
Yeah.
Oh,
2
took a touch on
seconds.
gate
He is
16.
fast here.
You can
See
see
how he-
him refocusing, making sure that he's smooth for this curl move.
He has the experience to know that he needs to hold it together, but be fast at the same time.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. I think people need to think about coming a little more right on the curl move for the oval section to come tighter into the upstream. A lot of people are trying to cut under the inside pole, and it's meaning that their tail slides out and they come low into the eddy. He's coming forwards on here. We'll see how he takes on the last section. Getting a little caught
So
up.
quite
but
nice there,
that he had to-
actually. Holding it, making sure to hold that inside blade and really just flatten the boat to come round. But yeah, that 2 second penalty looks like it might be costly to Forrest today.
Well, there's an asterisk next to Boris's name. So far, provisionally, we're looking at 4th place, but there's still 28 athletes to go. Next to go.
Christoph.
Majacek.
He's a younger Polish guy. We do see the faces in the Polish team change every so often, and some of them are much younger guys who can clearly really put the power down on difficult water.
But if you have 4 Polacek brothers and 2 sisters, dominating for 10 years.
Yeah. That was really smooth through here. London in lots of ways has similar characteristics to Krakow in that it's very consistent water, and the features created by the plastic obstacles are really easy to use for paddlers who have experience from white water. London is bigger, however. It does have more difficult features, so it'll be interesting to see how he copes with that, although really nice through gate 7-8.
I think the biggest thing with London as well is there's so many features in such a short space, whereas most courses are quite spread out in comparison.
If we look back at his results the last 2 years, though, he's had results, the positive ones in Bratislava, Magdeburg, Ivrea, Liptovsky, Sulkin. So he's on the challenging courses, and we saw the first split was up.
He's really flying through gate 12, 13. His
Very
boat
nice.
hasn't stopped moving at all. We'll just see how he handles this stagger, but so far I think he's looking amazing.
I think it looks like it was just then you could see where he was paddling a bit faster to get through that sequence where I think he's getting comfortable with the run now. He's getting up a little bit low into 20 there and a bit down the splits. We have to see what he does in this bottom.
He's having to do quite a few strokes in the back of 20, which means that he's having to save his energy for the last few moves at the end of the course. This is really hard on the arms now, especially trying to time your strokes to make sure that the boat's dry. He's gone forwards, but we'll see how well he copes with this last feature. He needs to go flat and get his nose down.
Very nice. I think he came quite late onto the wave there, so he managed to just flick the bows around.
Yeah.
Provisionally goes into 5th
So-
place, sorry.
That move's easier if you don't touch the wave. You have to come on the back of the white water, but again, it's a really stressful move because it feels like you're going to miss the gate. That was nice. It's crazy the standards now of slalom, especially for K1 men, to see what they actually have to do. We're coming slightly safe into one upstream could cost you a final.
For Switzerland, he's having a really good last couple of years since he had to step out of the C2 with his brother. We're looking at Lucas Verel.
Yeah, he looks like he's really upped his K1 game, and it's so cool to see him developing as a paddler and an athlete.
Yeah, we've seen Luka Bozic is another one from Slovenia in the C1 yesterday, who used to compete in the C2 and has really come on his own in the individual class.
And Switzerland, one of those nations that did manage to put a boat in the K1 in Rio. We did have a few challenges since the great Sir Michael Kurt, he retired.
Yes,
There's a bit of a gap, but now it looks like Martin Dugu is hopefully going to fill that with Lucas Verel.
Yeah, and Lucas Rivera as well, because he's having a really nice run at the moment. He's up on the split by half a second. We'll see if he can hold on to his advantage through the rest of the course. He's having to wait a little because he spun too early in gate 11, and he was really slow across the cross into gate 12, and he's picked up a touch on gate 11 as well. You can see he was being really careful to try and avoid that penalty, but unfortunately he touched it anyway.
That must
Really
be the
nice.
most frustrating if you try and avoid it and take an extra second, then whack it anyway.
I often find that it's that thing of when you focus on the pole because you think you're close to it, that's when you're more likely to to touch it, whereas sometimes it's a case of just trying to get through the gates as quick as you can.
Just do what
less time hanging
Siddhartha
around.
does, just always goes through the middle.
Yeah.
go through the middle
You
of
have
the
to trust that your body knows what to do and just ignore everything else.
Yeah.
It's a hard trust to build, but once you've built it, I think it's hard to get rid of. So we see people like Siddy really keeping amazing results year after year.
Oh, a little bit of a clunk on the
But that's okay.
blocks there.
Yeah. He kept it. I think this will be a nicer line through the last gate. That was really nice. It was sprint to finish. Don't think we'll see that in the final.
Unfortunately, the mistakes have been expensive today.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Not sure he knew he'd touch both. So the most French of the Belgium athletes to come next. It's Mathieu Doby.
Matthew has a really nice style. I used to watch his videos all the time when I was learning how to do rudders properly. He's a really experienced athlete. He trains on Po most of the time, so he has a good understanding for water and how to use features.
And again, these curl moves today, you've seen quite a lot of the French athletes delivering them very well.
He's using the speed off the eddy line there in the first downstream to make sure that he can accelerate into this curl move. It's about keeping control of what direction your boat is accelerating in, though. You can't just sprint down the whole course, you have to let the water help you. I think he picked up a touch on gate 4 there, that's a shame. And you see he's using a sweep, and that was really nice and fast out of 6 to make sure that he's at the same angle as the curl here. Sweep back under 8 and nice and tight into 9. Really nice. That's a classic Doby upstream. That's exactly what we like to see in the rudders. That's
Maybe a new video will be coming out.
Yeah, it's a perfect
featuring
up.
London 2019.
Yeah.
Matthew Doby from Belgium is putting together a cracking run.
He is, yeah. People favour sweeps at the moment, but you can see people like Doby really utilising a rudder, and I don't think it's slower than the new styles.
And it's you quite often see the likes of Joe often putting a rudder down in training, and it depends on the upstream, it depends on the nature of the water. But
and
yeah,
what position you come into the gate at. Sometimes it's just better to do a rudder, but Doby really utilised that. He's down 4 seconds on the split, and he's also picked up 2 penalties, so he is in contact time-wise, but I think this is a little bit too many penalties to be in the final.
What interested me there was Joe Clark has obviously come to legendary status because you don't even need to mention his surname, a bit like Jess or Tiger or something.
Yeah.
That's expensive.
Yeah. And that's a good example there where you can see he looked up to the gate and it seemed to tell him.
That was such a nice up. You had such a good up.
That's the Matthew Davey fan club led by Amber Maslin, who's next to me.
Sorry, everyone.
Martin Dugu had some really cracking results in the last USA. Very slight build, very fast. Needs to hold it together for the whole 250 metres.
Yeah, it's funny. People think that all London athletes are super big and super powerful, and they are really powerful. But we do see a lot of lighter athletes doing well here as well, because it gives you slightly more agility and slightly. It can mean you have more control over the boat. It's completely dependent on individual style and how you like to train. If you prefer to be lighter and be really on top of the water, or if you prefer to be slightly heavier and powerful. It can work for every kind of person.
Yeah, Sophie Ogilvy we'll see in the C1w final later today.
Martin's nearly 2 seconds up at the moment.
He was, and now he took a 2-second penalty, so he'll be slightly down on the split now, but if he can accelerate through the next section, then we can see some really high quality power.
Is it just the painting on the boat? It looks quite a lot of volume in the boat.
I think white boats look like they have a lot of volume, but he may prefer a larger boat.
Yeah,
so is that like a bumblebee or a butterfly that shows with bright colours it's sort of bigger than the others?
Yeah.
Alarm, do not eat.
It's not often you'll often see people stick with carbon boats, mainly because of the weight. White's actually the heaviest colour to have on a boat, so it's usually not the colours you see in the water, but a lot of people like to stand out, and so white's a good option to go for.
And Yana Dukatova with her swan boat always used to have white.
Beautiful. She has such a beautiful boat. He's looking really heavy on the edges right now. You can see that he's struggling a little bit to keep the boat under control because he's throwing more angle on the side of the boat than he would normally have to. I don't think this will be in contention for the final.
So not unless everyone else has a real challenge. 16 athletes gone so far.
Yeah, so not long before we'll start to see the qualifiers going through. So
a few well-known names coming forward now.
Yes, Peter Cowser is about to throw down on London.
King Cowser has Matt.
But Cowser means king, so it's not too big a thing. Anyway, one of the most accomplished paddlers of his generation has picked up the Olympic medal now.
Yes.
And he's such a dude that in Poe in the World Championships, when he's lost the gold medal last second, he didn't mind, he needed.
He dealt with it so well, and it's one of those things in the sport to see the likes of Cowser and it's just that.
But his semi-final run was staggering. Anyway, let's see how he goes today.
Yeah, he's looking super smooth. He came too low in Piccadilly, so he came pretty low into the upstream gate 3, but if anyone can pull that time back from the rest of the course, it'd be Cowser. I think we might still see him up on the split, actually, because he's just pinned this upstream.
Wow.
3 seconds up on the split, and he was really low in gate 3 as well, so I think maybe we're going to see sub 90.
We saw that. We saw Yuri really picked it up on the second half of this course, so it's okay. And we've seen a lot of the athletes losing it on this middle section, so we have to see how Cowser.
Yeah, Cowser looks like the boat's floating. He's a little sticky in gate 13.
Keeping it clean, which.
Yeah, just being careful. He's so light through here. His body position hasn't changed at all. He's just making sure that he's in control of what the eddies are doing.
Yeah, chaining the bow.
He's
still
up.
Yeah.
That was really nice into that upstream.
But there's 14 athletes to go. No, 24 to go.
I still think the best move we've seen on gate 19-20 was Sophie Ogilvy in the C1 final.
Yeah.
You saw that she flew straight into the upstream, and with one stroke she was in and out of the upstream in gate 20. coming into the up, so they have minimum turning to do, like here. But sometimes you can lose your nose upstream a little too early and jackknife into the eddy. Struggling to get his nose down fast enough. We're seeing him jump through this stagger move really smooth, really nice. He's having to do some reverse strokes though. I think we may see him down. Oh, only 0.8 down.
With considering the 2-second penalty as well, it's very good. See what we can do in this bottom section. A little bit sticky coming out of 20 there.
See him really holding on the paddle, trying to get the nose as dry as he can through this move.
Yeah.
He's going to have to be careful.
Yeah. Quite a direct
okay.
line there. If we go for the forwards, we'll see how he does
gone forwards,
this.
but you see he's gone a little low in the eddy to go forwards.
Holding it there.
Time's drifting by. Zena Vivaldi is going to be fifth
Place.
with an awful lot of more athletes to go.
Yeah.
We're seeing quite a few though. Some of those top athletes do have penalties currently.
Michael Smolan, who has good memories from these courses. I was speaking to Rafa last night, the father, coach, and he's saying, yeah, Michael's feeling good. Had a good winter, won some stuff down in Australia. Obviously medalled here in the 2015 Worlds.
Yeah, Michael does spend quite a lot of his winter over in New Zealand and Australia, I think so, the last few years.
I think what you need to admire about the Americans is they have to self-finance everything, whereas a lot of the Europeans are sort of Rolls Royces, personal physios. He's very much a case of do-it-yourself, mate.
Yeah, well, Michal Smolan has some really good support from his private sponsors. In all nations, there's definitely a case of personal funding and making it happen. Parents put a huge amount of work into athletes right from the beginning.
1.76 up. Amber Maslin is still looking to fund some of her European trips. So if you like the commentating, if you go for the angle, look at her blog, look at her website, and maybe help to bring forward following athletes.
Very good blog that Amber writes. Well, I know Amber quite well. But she always puts things very well into words that I wish I could do myself. So it's definitely worth having a look at.
Worth looking at while you're here as well would be the Slalom Inspires tent over in the field behind the inflatables. It's an initiative to keep more women in sport and keep them in our sport for longer.
Yeah, and if you're not here today, then you can follow Slalom Inspires at Slalom Inspires on Instagram or also on Facebook. Started up by Ailey Gibson, and it's really good initiative.
It's a really good.
Let's quickly go back to the action. Michal Smolan for the USA is putting together a not by his standards something you'd want to do.
No, he went forwards on that move there, and the trouble with going forwards on the last feature is that you can end up going a lot lower in the eddy, which means you have to keep your nose up to get on the wave, which means it's much easier to get stuck in the last gate. He's not happy. This is Hannes Eigner, reigning world champion. At the moment, he knows this course really well. He also got a silver medal here at the Olympic Games in London. Not silver.
No, bronze.
Yes, he did.
But yeah, hands over. He's always in finals and in the international scene. But very nice into gate 3 there. A little bit tight coming out, managing to hold the bow.
He's looking a little heavy in these downstreams. I think, like a lot of athletes, he's having to calm down a little bit because everyone can really feel the pressure in the first 9 gates, but you can see now that he's able to use the water. This section under the bridge feels super nice. I think people are getting that feeling and enjoying it, so they're able to relax.
Well, point out at the moment, and a couple of years ago he didn't make the top of the team, but managed to come back.
Yeah, he missed out on senior team.
Saying, Sebastian Schubert, if you're listening there, it's never too late. Don't hang up your paddle, mate.
Yeah, super excited to see Sebastian race maybe a couple more times this season, hopefully.
Yeah.
German selection series is brutal. It's like the Czech and British series. There's so many good paddlers and so much depth of field. Literally anything can happen. So
Well, drop back a little bit.
He's nearly 2 seconds down on the split. We just saw him go really smooth through the middle of gate 20, like showcasing that German style, being really safe around the poles, but able to use his power.
A little bit sticky on the stopper there for 2021, so to see. Go for the wide line through 23.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting to see how many of the athletes are opening up that move.
Yeah, I don't think too many more people are going to go really far right before that last move.
Nice through the last wave there.
So he moves into provisional 5 place, which is going to be, you wouldn't want to be there really with another 18 athletes to go. Britt Prinders, look at that, number 1 in the world, won the Europeans, has been one of the top form athletes for the last 5-6 years.
Yeah, Vit's really experienced. His teammates are the best in the world as well, so the Czech guys have some insanely competitive paddlers to train with and race against all the time. He's opting for the right line. So far I don't think we've seen anyone go for the left line. He's an expert at using the water where it's fastest.
A little bit sticky there, but showing his skill, able to hold the height into gate 3.
Yeah.
When he's not injured, I know he's had a few challenges in the past, he really is lifts it.
Nearly managing to get his head around there.
Really tight around the pole. I wonder if we'll see an asterisk on his name. I know Vit will be able to put this behind him and really cope with the pressure that's put on himself. He's not too far down the split. In fact, his running time's 1.5 seconds off on the split. So,
in fact, this is something I was thinking before, is that with Yuri, so many people being up on the first split, it just shows that you could potentially have a penalty early on and still
and still match the bottom section. Yeah. That was really nice in gate 13. So far, our top 2 paddlers have done gate 13 and managed to get their noses down immediately afterwards, which sets you up better for this stagger. We're seeing the guys who are getting stuck in gate 13 wasting a lot of time.
So he's 2 seconds down there.
He is making up time on his previous split though. On his running time.
A little bit sticky coming out of the upstream 20 there.
Just managed to get himself there.
Yeah, and he's struggling to keep speed on the boat. He's going for the left line, going before gate 23. I think that's the fastest line because it's the shortest line, and for the K1m they need to be able to deal with the shortest line.
This year it's Andre Tunke who missed out on the selection.
Andre Tunke was the world champion from Po, so it just shows you.
But he's been given a 50.
Yeah, on gate 6. I think because he hit it really hard and had to duck his head in, he may have had a half head when he was trying to recover from that touch.
Well, there's no asterisks and he looks confused. Anyway, well, let's watch the space.
Yeah. Martin Halsin is based in Litovsky Mikuláš. He has a son, I think.
Yeah, a son and a very cute dog.
A really good dog. He's got a nice family situation. It's really nice to see him living the lifestyle of a Slovak slalom paddler.
Made one final last year. So,
so he also took the right-hand line there, seeing to wait to use the water.
See him exploding out of the curl move there. He's really changing his speed depending where it's most advantageous.
Yeah, very powerful paddler. You see there, bouncing above gate 6.
Yeah, Martin's really light, so he shows a lot of agility on the course. He's able to really make the boat move when it needs to be. And he had to duck his head around gate 9. He's still up on the split, but he's coming in wide. If he can hold on to his mindset for the rest of the run, he's really struggling to get on the wave there enough to get into gate 12 fast, though. I think he may have lost quite a lot of time there.
I think the knack with that wave is you have to just trust, letting the bow run onto it initially. But taking the standard of 13, but getting a nice tight exit out. Just driving through nicely through 15, 16.
This is a really fast stagger. The K1m have all been doing forward strokes through it. There's a couple of people who have been struggling to keep the speed. He's getting really stuck up in the stopper there. You can see the power you need to get away from the feature there. I think he knows that it's over. He's not pulling as hard as he can to get out the stopper there. I think he'll be a good sportsman and finish the run off with a show at the bottom.
You see he's been given a 50-second penalty on gate 9.
Yeah.
So he'll finish off the run.
He'll showcase the spin, and hopefully the other guys who are still watching can see how to do the last gate. That was pretty nice, actually.
That was quite a nice one. I think he's just nice and relaxed now, which helps in that bottom move.
Yeah.
But unfortunately,
not today. Antoine Launay, the Franco-Portuguese.
Yeah, I think Antoine Launay is really underrated sometimes. He's had some really amazing results. He flies under the radar sometimes, but I'm not sure why, because he is a really good paddler.
Yeah.
He's using
Very
the end of that stopper
Very
so
nice.
nicely. You saw he went really far left to use maximum speed from left to right through that move. Super in control here, just making sure that he's really in the middle of the gates. Nice upstream in gate 6.
Yeah. You can see he's a very, as you mentioned, very controlled paddler, but very smooth in the water as
He
well.
only averages 2 semi-finals a season.
You can see he's learning from perhaps his competitors' mistakes. He's making sure that he's really composed in the top of the course because there's everything to paddle for at the bottom.
You can even see his face looking completely measured.
Yes. He's not going absolutely maximum effort as hard as he can out of the upstreams because he knows he's maybe going to have to use all of his power to cope with the mistakes. 13 was pretty slow. We've seen the fastest men so far do it on one sweep with their nose pointing downstream after the manoeuvre. I think he's nice up on the split.
Yeah, just can see.
This is really controlled, isn't it?
Yeah,
he
a little
got
bit
his
sticky
nose.
in there, but he's making sure to paddle around the gate. I think that's the thing that. Oh, very sticky.
really
now.
tight. You can see him edging downstream, which actually has the disadvantage of drawing your boat upstream into the features.
Yeah.
It's really tempting to do because it feels like you're safer, and like you can keep the boat moving downstream. He's
Going for a late spin on there, which I think possibly wasn't plan A, but a little bit sticky.
You see how close he is to the finish line with 3 big mistakes. I think he'll be really annoyed with that. But he's being a gentleman, so
Yeah.
that's good.
Controlling.
As Giovanni De Gennaro again trains on Ivrea all the time, so he's used to big features, big difficult features.
Yeah.
He'll
I think
want to go to the Olympic Games again.
Yes, I think he quite likes London. He's been over a few times to train here. Yeah, very nice. He'll always say hello when you pass through the water. It's quite good as well, seeing all the Italians with the Italian flag on the front of the bow.
He's super strong as well. You can see how his boat accelerates. He's able to really put the power on and get that boat moving.
Yeah.
He's come
It's a
really
bit
high.
sticky, yeah.
He's come really high out of gate 3, so he's gotten a little stuck in the stopper, so he may have lost a little bit of time, but as we've seen, it's pretty easy to take a lot of time off the top section. It's just holding it at the bottom that's the trick.
Very composed under the bridge there, using the water and the keel, getting the bows and above.
So nice.
Very nice.
Fully 3 seconds off
Yeah.
up on the split.
Quite wide, coming to 11 there, which is quite a lot for the athlete.
Yes, and he's meeting the stopper right in the middle of the feature so that he didn't get caught up at all. He's able to just let his nose naturally go into gate 12.
One of those athletes again that sometimes on his day could really, like Leipzig a couple of years ago, could put down winning runs.
Yeah, it was very nice through 318 there. Did it for the standard, but boats running down through the stagger. A little bit sticky there.
Still going to be up.
See how he is on this next split. So
Yeah,
he's
he's
in
turned
touch,
over a little
but
bit.
a little bit
He's quite
low.
low into this upstream.
So he's working to get back up to the gate. Quite wide out of 20 there. A little bit wet through there. Go for that left line.
He's quite dry through this section though. I think he's really keeping the speed well. He's opted for forwards and he's came really close out of the gate, so he's not.
Carrying a lot of speed down there, but
Well,
into
eight.
8th place.
Not what he wanted. So far, as we look at it, there have been just over 20 athletes gone. Jo Piskowicz is still one of the first to go because he had to go through 2 heats. He is 91 seconds effectively.
Timothy Anderson up next from Australia. See his picture there, you realise that there's quite a lot of hair being hid under his helmet.
Tim Anderson's got a really nice feel for the water.
Yeah.
You can see him do really well in places with big features and high pressure moves.
Yeah.
And he's got a good acceleration on him as well.
Very good power to weight ratio. But yeah, that was
Heard
very
in the background,
smooth.
Giovanni Gennaro was banging his canoes. Still.
Tim's getting stuck in the stopper from gate 3 to gate 4, and he's getting his boat back under control again.
Yeah, he's given a 2-second penalty on gate 4, but
Yeah.
see what
He's really smooth around gate 6. We'll see how much time he's perhaps lost at the top, but if he can keep his speed on the bottom section. Really tight around there, and he's having to fight
If
to
you
get
look at
into
the
gate
time
10.
though, he's going fast.
Yeah, he's up on the split time-wise. He just has a 2-second penalty to recover from. He's getting
Little
really
bit
stuck up
sticky.
in that stopper though. Really fast out of gate 12 though. We'll see if he drops in front of gate 13. It's a riskier move, but a lot faster.
Yeah, he's going for the sweep. Oh, very nice. That took a lot of time out there. He was in and out. and just straight through the stagger, a little bit wide.
Oh, that was
rough to
really
see.
tight.
Yeah.
Through gate 17.
See where
We'll
he is
see
in
what
this
the
bit,
judges
but he
say.
definitely, 3 seconds down.
It's crazy how fast Yuri was in the middle section. We can see lots of guys 3 or more seconds up on the first split, and Yuri just flew through that middle part, so there's no chance to catch up. If you can hold on to your time advantage, that's great, but I think it's going to be hard to match.
Yeah.
He's up
a little bit
forwards, and he's quite low in the eddy, so I think
that
he'll
might
struggle to go. Oh.
See, actually, I think it might bode well. Oh, a little bit tight on the inside pole.
And he got really stuck in the stopper there as well, so he's going to have to.
Yes, into 18.
So not today, Tim.
Disappointed.
Next is young Frenchie,
Yes,
Mathieu Madore.
It was his birthday this week, I think. The French team was celebrating. They all stay at Theobald's up the road, so they're having a nice time, I think. He was here a few weeks ago, and he looked really fast on the water here, so it'd be really.
Yeah, he gets on very well with Bradley, one of the local paddlers. So he enjoys coming over to London.
Super smooth into gate 3. He's going to be judging his strokes here, seeing where he can get the most effect for the least amount of work. So far, smooth, really powerful through all his driving strokes. He's getting a little caught up there. It'd be nice to see some people lifting their nose a little bit more over the waves. Gate 9 was a little sticky as well, but I think he can hold on to the speed there.
Again, it's good to see, especially in the K1m, to see some of the younger athletes coming so well.
And as we've seen from Yuri, you can be pretty slow on the top section, but actually put the speed down in the next section, as Mathieu's doing just now. Mathieu. Yeah, he's going super fast through the stagger. I think he's going to build the speed up through his run. You can see that he's really fit, so he'll be able to.
So still a second
no.
a little bit sticky
He's
there.
hit the bollard.
Yeah, he hit the bollard, which is probably one of the worst things you can do in that feature. It's a really strong stopper on the left-hand side, so if your nose gets drawn up into it, as we saw Matthew Halsen,
Yes.
it's hard to recover from.
So he's 1 second back from the stop. Where's he going to be? 2 or 3 seconds back?
Yeah, plus 2 or 3.
5, 6.
Yes.
Nice last gate though.
Yeah.
Props for finishing the run nicely. That was a difficult move to
Not
recover
today.
from in the middle. Disappointed.
So if you're in New Zealand, next 2 athletes are going to be of great interest to you. First to go is Callum Gilbert.
Yeah, Callum's a young athlete from New Zealand. We saw him racing Mike Dawson for the Olympic place in Rio.
Yeah.
He's come on a lot the last few seasons. It'd be really cool to see what he can do today.
Taranga, 23 years old. No fear.
Yeah,
That's one thing you do see with a lot of New Zealand paddlers, is they've come from whitewater backgrounds, and so they're very comfortable on bigger courses like London.
They have a good feel for the water.
Yeah.
Some of the best lines we've seen in Gate 3 have been on the back of the stopper and a little wider into the upstream, so they're able to carry a lot more speed into that move. We saw Callum get a little caught up in the stopper and lose some speed. And I think if he'd taken the upstream a little wider, he would have carried more out. He's flying really nicely into the next section.
Yeah, still
he's nearly 2 seconds up on the split, and it's looking nice so far.
Yeah, a little bit just driving, very nice, just driving onto the wave there, a little bit sticky.
His nose got caught upstream for a moment. We're just seeing him trying to carry the speed out of Gate 12 and probably drop in front of Gate 13.
Going for sweep,
That was
very
super nice. You can be really happy with that. That was to rival Yuri Priskovitz's upstream.
Yeah, just a little bit nice. He managed to run really nice through that section. A lot of boat speed.
Flying through this stagger.
One
He's still
second up.
1 second up on the split.
Oh, a little bit
He
sticky.
needs to paddle through the end of that stopper and haul it around on the upstream.
Nicely out of the... Oh, taking a touch on Gate 20.
He took a touch. He doesn't have any more upstream to deal with now. He does have a difficult spin move. If he can hold on to his mindset here and really accelerate through it, he's going to go for the spin, which is, I think, is a better option.
You stay on the back, a little bit sticky, but driving down.
Stuck through there, and we'll see how costly that stopper move was for him.
11th place.
Oh.
No, that's
Such a shame.
run to be proud of.
It was a very good run.
Yeah, he can be stoked with that, I think.
Yeah.
It wasn't
Yuri
easy.
Priskovich still leading in 10th place, his boys nephew. Only 3 seconds back, so they're starting to group with another 12 to go.
Yeah, we've got
Here's
another-
Finn Butcher.
Yeah. Another New Zealander, we've got Finn. He's come can't see this boat design from here, but got a very nice pattern on the back of his boat.
Keeping to the New Zealand black tradition.
Yeah.
24 years old, Alexandra. With the ferns on his sleeves.
Yeah.
Yeah, the New Zealand kit's super cool. They're cool guys, like they really enjoy the lifestyle around it. They spend a lot of their time in Europe, so they're away from home for sometimes more than 6 months a year. It's not easy, but they do a really nice circuit and they can really enjoy European slalom courses. He's looking really smooth so far. You can see the men are trying to turn their nose back to the right hand side before they get to gate 8, which often leads to a much tighter line. It's a bit riskier, but I think ultimately you get a nicer run into gate 9, the upstream. Yeah, he was very close to the outside pole there in the spin. He's having to cope with that on the next wave.
I should say a very nice run into gate 12. They're not getting too held up on the wave. Bowsing above on 13.
That was nice. It wasn't quite as fast as Callum Gilbert's, but he's also keeping control of the boat, making sure he's just using forward strokes going through this stagger.
Yeah.
He's pretty far down on the split just now, and he's lost his nose upstream in that stopper again. He's managed the mistake really nicely.
Oh, that was caught on the bollard just
First time you've seen that.
Yeah, the upstream is really high in the eddy, so it is a bit easy if you put your tail down there to be forced up the eddy and sometimes catch your nose on the bollards. We haven't seen anyone else do it so far. He's taking this on forwards. He's nice and tight under the inside pole.
Flicking it around very nicely on that wave there, not getting held up.
That was a really good move on the last 2 gates. I think he'll be pretty disappointed with that though.
2 New Zealanders in the semi-final, which is good to build on.
Yeah, that is good to see.
Michal Paswit from Poland.
We'll see the Polish guys have a nice feel for the water, but one of the qualities they bring that is special for Poland is how fast they are, how strong they are in a straight line.
Yeah.
They train a lot, they do a lot of physical work. That was super fast around the upstream. You saw he took the tight line in there and he still managed to keep the speed on the back of the stopper. He did take up the touch on gate 4 though. He was very tight on it, so I think he may have made that up time-wise. You might not need to worry too much about that.
It was very smooth under that bridge section as well, and nice and tight into gate 9.
Yeah,
it's 1.5 seconds up with the touch,
which means
the top section.
Flying, absolutely flying.
3.5 seconds up raw time. He's gone really smooth through that wave section. We saw him take the middle of the wave rather than the beginning of it, so he's not forced to kick his nose up.
Yeah, going quite wide into 13, so have to see going for standard, but again, still a very quick. Just a little bit on the exit.
He's got control of his tail, which means that he's not having to compensate for the boat overturning. He's able to dictate exactly what angle he has at all points in the course. He's still up on the split, and he had a really nice curl move there.
18 cubic meters of water coming down per second. 3 big engines pumping the water around. A lot of chlorine, so it tastes certainly not going to pick up any bugs.
Yeah, that's it. He's super smooth through this section. I think we may see a new race leader if he can hold on. He's gone for the spin option, which is better for the last gate. We just need to see him go completely dry. Getting a little caught up here, but if he can attack to the finish, we'll see.
Oh, just outside, but still very good.
Promising, huh?
Wow.
Yeah. We'll see how that
So sum his run up then. What did he do right?
He just kept it really smooth, kept the bows dry, and he was driving. I think that's the main thing. He kept it dry. And
he was
really
in control.
lines.
He was in control of his tail the whole time. So he wasn't overturning for anything. He was making sure that every time he exited an upstream, his nose was pointing exactly where he wanted to go.
Yeah, he was constantly driving on the front of the boat.
David Lorente from Spain.
Another strong Spanish paddler. We're seeing David appearing a lot more in these semi-finals at the World Cup level. Also did very well entering 3s last year.
He's a young athlete, but he's super strong. He obviously has a nice feel for water. He's just trying to get his nose back under control there. Dropping into gate 6, super fast around the pole.
So picking up a 2-second penalty.
Taking the tight line between 7 and 8, and he's dropping into 9 fast. This is nice. He's 1 second up on the split, even with a touch. So he's
Yuri Puskovic is now qualified for the final.
Okay, so now it's the final.
Yeah.
Nice round gate 12. He's carrying the speed nicely through all these ups. He's not overusing his tail, which means that he's able to carry speed through everything. Took a little bit of time to get around gate 13 there. And we see the guys take their paddle out of the water, it means the pressure's lost, which can mean that your boat slows down a little bit. The guys who have enough speed anyway aren't having to work too hard to get that back up again. But if they can keep their paddle in the water the whole time and not do 2 or 3 strokes in each upstream, it means they're at a big advantage.
Yeah, so we see he's lost a little bit of time on the split on that middle section. He's still trying to take them quite a direct line through that stagger sequence in the middle there, bottom there. Going for spin.
He's going for the spin, so he's got a nice exit, and he's a little stuck up through the last gate. That's costly with his 2-second penalty. It was a nice run. I think he'll be super disappointed with that.
So 8 athletes to go just in front of us, which is the end of the course. We see Joe Clark and Bradley Forbes-Cryans. What's interesting about theirs is they're about the only 2 athletes that have an overcoat, protective coat still on.
Yeah, they'll have been warming up for a little while. They may have been walking the course in their kits. They'll be wanting to keep as warm as they can to make sure their muscles don't cool down before this. Because the British guys are going to put down some blinding times in the semi-final.
And Chris Burrows is there also, just the 3 Brits with 10 minutes to go.
Yeah.
Now who's on course now? It's Tim Maxima.
Yeah. So Tim making the senior team last year, which was awesome to see. He was unfortunately missed out on a medal in Augsburg.
Yeah, he had a late penalty added in Augsburg, which in front of a home crowd is pretty brutal because he had the fastest time. Tim's got a very classic German style, so he tries to be in the middle of the gate, and you can see him utilising his strength. When he can keep it under control, he's super fast.
Very
that
nice.
was nice in gate 9.
Vast experience, 33 years old.
Yeah, he's an experienced athlete. You see him training with the same speed that he has in races, so it's really nice
You
to see
don't want to
him.
get in his way.
No, for sure. He's a very intimidating paddler to be on a World Cup slot with. But he's a really nice guy. He's really happy to talk to you about slalom and enjoys the sport a lot, so it's super valuable.
It's always good to speak to people that have the same enthusiasm for the sport as you.
Because when you're training, there can be quite a lot of you on the water at the same time.
Yeah, World Cup slots get super busy, especially junior events as well. There can be up to 40 boats on the water at a time, which gets hard. But he's losing his nose a little bit there, but so far he's not had to stop putting the power down. I think he's only done forward strokes since the start of the run.
Yeah.
He's going to go for the spin because then you can take more power into this downstream gate. We may...
A little bit sticky in the bottom
little
way.
stuck. You can see him using his whole body to force his boat free of that stopper though.
So provisionally we'll move. No, we do know, however, that Yuri Priskovic, Michal Paswi and Daniel Watkins from Australia have now qualified.
Is Callum Gilbert waiting to qualify next?
Yeah.
He
So-
may be in luck. Peter Kauser after him.
Could be Jakob Griego, one of the most talented, and I'd say smiley-some
Yes.
Yeah.
athletes on the circuit.
Yeah, Kubo Griga is a great sportsman. He's really happy to talk to everybody. He's super happy to talk about slalom especially. He enjoys the social part of the sport as well.
Yeah.
And he lives in Litovsky Mikuláš.
22 years old, we know all about him.
Yeah,
Ooh, a little bit
he's
sticky there.
had to use the end of the stopper to turn his boat around there. It meant he wasted a little bit of time turning and not enough time going forwards, but I think actually he's taking a lot of speed into the next section.
It's interesting to see how he transitions into the senior scene for the last couple of years, because as a junior he won everything.
Yeah, it's not an easy transition from junior to senior. He's up on the split by nearly a second. He's had to deal with a lot of pressures, and in Slovakia, slalom's a huge sport, so there's a huge amount of pressure from not just from your friends, family, and yourself and your coach, but also from Slovakia as a whole nation. So it's not an easy position to be in for someone so young, but
He's looking
he
good.
managed it like a gentleman. So
Yeah. Be a
And
little
if you're
bit-
new to the sport, if you're wearing Red Bull, it means you have a personality and you're a winner and you have potential future.
Yes.
if you had a red boat,
Red Bull, if you're wearing Red Bull.
oh, Red Bulls. I was like,
If you're a red
get
boat.
Red Bull next year.
You've got a red boat. But yeah, he did that quite nicely in Phillips 220. He did lose a little bit of height, but kept the boat running very nicely. Taking the midline, I suppose, there down to 23.
Yeah, he's gone
a little
straight-
bit.
Straight to the middle, and I wonder if he'll opt for forwards. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
going for forwards. He's a little low in the
Little
eddy.
bit low.
Ah,
Oh, he's lost a
and
bit
he
of height
lost his
there.
nose to the upstream. He's going to have to fight to get into the down.
No, 3 or
Um,
4 seconds
too
quickly
much.
drifted by.
Oh, and he's stuck in that
he
second
knows.
stopper. It's super
Yeah.
difficult. He knows it's over. I wish he'd sprint to the finish though.
Yeah.
Oh, don't be sad.
Give him a hug, Amber.
I know, he looks like he needs one.
Well, we're having just the showman to come next. Vavra had
So-
10 years on the national team, of course, as world champion. Last 2 years off, and this year he's back.
Yeah, Vavra's a great paddler to watch. He's super powerful, knows all the courses really well, super experienced. He was in the motocross yesterday, unfortunately beaten by Etienne Chappell from Wales.
Yeah. Etienne was very happy to be racing along one of his idols, Vavra.
Yeah. Smooth through the first move. You can see him carrying the speed onto the back of the stoppers so that he doesn't get too caught up. I think Vavra will be taking the safe approach to a lot of these upstreams. You can see from London that you don't necessarily need to be directly on the lines, but it is essential for K1 men that they don't make any mistakes.
So London 2012 Olympics, first Molmenti, second was Vavra Hadlek, and third was Hannes Eiger. 2.9 up, wow.
Very nice.
Yeah, he's nearly 3 seconds up on the split. He's getting caught up into that wave. But we know that he has a little bit of time to play with if he does this next section as nice as possible.
Yeah, he looks very smooth on the top half so far. It's been the same. He's eased off a bit there into 13. I'm not sure. He was a bit sticky.
He wasn't quite as nice as Yuri and Callum in that section, and he's looking pretty heavy in this stagger, so he's going to have to put some speed on the boat. Although he does have some time to play with, so I think he's not too far back in the split. 1 second down. Just now you have to be within 1.3 seconds to qualify, so he could definitely get it back on this last section. He's used to big water, he's comfortable in big water, so perhaps he can bring it in this last section.
A nice line down through there, down the left side, going for the spin on this bottom section, which is nice.
Out onto the flow, flatten the boat off.
A little bit
at the moment is 93.
Sprints the line, but
he just looked a little cautious on that last section. People are having to lean onto their downstream blade, and I think it's a mix of them feeling really tired at the bottom of London and also not being quite sure of what the water's going to do to you. So that's why we're going to see our local boys really.
Do you know Callum Gilbert now has qualified, and Peter Cowser also qualified.
Oh, that's great.
Lucien Delfort, the Australian Frenchie.
Yeah, Lucian's really used to big water from Penrith. He's also got a European background in paddling, so he understands. Oh, and he has such windy conditions, you can see the gates moving for him there, so I feel pretty bad for him.
Yeah, it's really picked up in the last 10 minutes or so.
He's taken a super tight line in the upstream, so you can see him getting a little caught in the stopper afterwards. Taking the upstreams tighter means that you are faster in the turn, but sometimes means that you lose a little speed coming out of it. So some of the guys who are coming wider into the ups might not look as fast, but they're actually carrying a lot more speed through the boat.
Because he's light, he can sit on top of the water.
Yeah, he's
look at that, up so far.
Nice. Really composed. But it's all in the middle and bottom sections. We saw that Vavra was 3 seconds up on the first split and lost 7 seconds in the last 2 sections.
Losing a little bit into 12 there. The bow was just catching on the edge of line and going for the wide line into 13 here.
Yeah, he stopped paddling going into 13. I think he was being cautious to make sure he didn't touch the pole so that his nose wouldn't kick up, but it means that he lost a little bit of time. He's just having to drag the nose a little bit through this stagger, so I think we'll see a time loss going into the next curl move. Yeah,
a little bit down.
Nice on the curl, just being quite cautious again. Here we need to see no hesitation, because you don't need to do anything particularly special to make the final, it seems, for K1, but you really do need to make sure that you make no mistakes.
Yeah, I think definitely the key thing there is even just he's been given a late touch there on gate 3.
Oh, and he lost his edge in the eddy there. That's easy to do because when you really dig the tail in, you have to keep control of exactly what angle your hips are at. So it's hard to make sure that they're flat the whole time. And we saw him lose control of it a little there. I think we gutted with that.
4 athletes to go, 3 Brits. Juprisco come through, Pasui come through, Watkins, Gilbert, Cowser, and now Teston from Slovenia. So 2 Slovenians through.
We've got the 3 British boys racing for top Olympic points this race. Chris will be raring to go for this. He's an expert on London. Super keen to see what he can do.
Luckily, he comes in under the radar.
He does a bit.
Yeah, of course, he's well decorated already.
It's surprising because Chris has put down some really good results. He still does, as you say, come in under the radar. It's definitely one to look out for.
Well, I think that's a choice, though.
Yeah.
We're already seeing how relaxed Chris is on the top section compared to some of the other guys. He's using the water. He's not feeling rushed through any of the strokes. You can see that he's just putting the nose where it needs to be, not doing anything insane. He's just making sure that he's getting his nose down. He's
like Mallory, doesn't need the paddle, really.
Exactly, yeah. He's just making sure that he's doing exactly what he needs to do to secure his place in the final.
We saw 2 seconds up at the split.
Really smooth through that gate 12. He's not doing anything extra. He's just making sure the boat isn't stopping moving. He'll drop into gate 13 and sweep around the pole. That was nice. It was
Yeah.
a little sticky on getting the nose down, but really smooth through the stagger section. We'll see him lifting and just doing that bare minimum of what needs to happen.
Yeah, a little bit sticky there on the end of the stagger sequence, but still in touch with that leading time of Yuri. So just seeing what we can do.
Yeah, you need to be
on this
within
composite.
1.89 seconds to make the final.
2.77.
2.67. There we go. Yeah, just slotting in between.
So
See now he's going for the spin in this bottom section. As I said, it'll be interesting to see what the local guys go for. But very
so
nice.
easily through the last
Yeah.
gate. Not a problem for
93
Chris.
there.
He knows.
Sixth place. So
Yeah,
they
so he's qualified.
for the
Oh, that's
final.
super cool.
And smiling 2 meters before the end.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there we go.
He knew he didn't have to do anything insane there. He just didn't make any mistakes at all, and there's still some time in that run.
Yeah.
Quentin Buggy is about to race. He's been here a couple of times. Quite an experienced paddler, and we'll see what he can put down on this run.
We
He's
have
been
some
really
Frenchies coming well, aren't we? Because the last time we saw Martin Thomas in the C1 putting a good run forward.
Yeah,
Yes.
they're all looking fast this season, looking really in control of their boats. Quentin really likes this course, so I think we'll see a really nice time.
Yeah, and obviously just coming off the podium in Po a few weekends ago at the European Championships as well.
Yeah, he got silver at the Europeans.
The
Nice.
sun's come out. Is that going to help or hinder?
Well, as long as the pole stops swimming, you can see the pole
Yeah.
is still swimming quite a bit, which I think it doesn't matter if the sun's shining, you want the poles to be nice and still for you, really.
Right now it's quite windy in London,
Yeah.
so that's the condition that's difficult to deal with. Look at how much these poles are moving for him.
3 seconds
Yeah,
up.
seconds
This
up.
is amazing.
Yeah, he's coping with the wind really well.
As long as he sticks to the middle of the gate, middle of the gates.
He picked up a
late-
touch on gate 9 and 11, which sucks because
Coming late.
Yeah.
the poles were moving loads in the wind. I feel really bad for him. This is not
Yeah.
easy conditions to race under. He's coming tight to gate 13. He's picked up a touch there as well. This is tragic because honestly the poles are moving about a foot each way. You can see how hard this is as a paddler. This is
Yeah.
difficult to watch.
And it's the shame is it's like you don't get a rerun or another run due to the
Conditions,
oh,
everyone gets the same conditions to race under. Just unfortunately we are at the mercy of the weather. There are variables we can't control here,
Yeah.
and Quentin got a really
It's
unfortunate
switched
hand.
directions as well, the wind.
Yeah.
It does.
It's swirling. If you look at the flags, it's swirling all the time.
Yeah.
So that does mean someone's bad news is someone's good news. Need to find out who has
Oh,
qualified now.
bless
Did
him.
he come through? Yeah.
And he missed the down in the eddy. He's going to have to deal with that last gate. It's absolutely tragic. That's not easy.
So Quentin Berger comes over as it's updated. Says David O'Enty, 2 more to go. We've got Ivaldi Eigner or Forbes Cryans and Clark.
And here's Bradley winding up. He's from Scotland as well, from Edinburgh. He's been so excited to race today. He put down a blinding run on Friday. Super excited to see what he does. I'm going to get too excited. Okay, Bradley's
goes.
really winding up. You can see his characteristics slightly leaning back and making sure that he's getting maximum speed from the boat there.
Yeah,
Setting
he's
up
very-
for the curl move.
Ooh,
A little
bit.
late. Came off the back
No
of the stopper.
excuses because he had a couple of hours in commentary here watching exactly what's going on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's managed to keep the speed coming out the up despite the slight mistake going into gate 3. Super fast out of gate 6, making sure that he's coming wide for this next curl move.
Yes.
And now you can see him relaxing. You can see that he's not worried. He's just fighting to get back for gate 9, keeping the nose completely under control. Super fast through gate 9. He's 1.69
1.6
up.
up, yes.
Yeah, I think you can see with Bradley so far. It's just now like keeping the control of the boat and just paddling between the gates. It's all he needs to do.
Yeah, he paddled onto the middle of the wave there, so he didn't lose any boat speed going into 12. He's coming out as hard as he can into 13.
He's taken the wide line into 13 to go for that sweep.
Oh,
Very
beautiful,
nice.
really
Get the
nice.
bow down.
Got the
good
nose.
crowd support as well. A couple of thousand
Yeah.
people into there. They have sold out, by the way.
Have they?
So very nice that he's keeping on the forward strokes through the stagger. And let's
He's
see,
really
in-
setting up for this curl. He knows he doesn't have to do anything special here. He just has to go with no mistakes.
Yeah, I think it's
Super nice into that curl move.
he's definitely settling a bit more into the run as it goes along, which is great to see.
Yeah, he's relaxed. He's making sure that he's going dry on this move.
Yeah,
Taking a
very
little
nice.
bit of a right hand line. Oh, and he hit the ball out.
But
Keep
he's
going,
staying
keep going, keep going.
composed.
He's not.
He's not lost a lot of time. He should be.
Key time
He's good,
is
he's good,
he's
93.5.
He's
Sprint,
in there,
sprint,
come
sprint,
on.
sprint, 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 sprint.
No, he's out.
Oh! Fuck.
Oh, oh no.
Apologies there.
He's gonna be
Emotion
devastated.
sometimes gets the top of the athlete.
Yeah. Oh, he's in. So we can hand roll. Yeah, he's back up.
Oh, body's going to be devastated. It's just one of those things you often do when you're coming above that top drop. You get quite a kick across.
Anyway, Joe Clark, let's concentrate on the presence. This has
Joe.
implications for all sorts of things.
Here comes.
Last athlete down in the semi-final still.
Yeah, so Joe being the last athlete, he can do some amazing things on this course, so we'll have to see how he does today.
Hannes Eigner's now, the world champion, is in the final.
That'll be, Hans Eichel will be happy with that, unfortunately for... There we go, very smooth in the top bit so far from Joe. Very nice into gate 9 there. 4 seconds up
now.
I think that just goes to show, like, very nice across the wave in the middle lane to gate 12. Coming out at 12, again, staying out wide. See if he gets the bows in above 13, a little bit low, but just showing his power driving up and out. Very smooth. Joe's just very good at keeping the bow on top of the water and just...
But still 3 seconds up, and it's the last competitor to go. We have Christopher Bowes qualified. Can Joe Clark qualify? We just had Bradley Force-Cryan's really unfortunate couple of errors that put him out. So this is important implications for the Olympic qualifications for Tokyo.
Oh, he's going forwards, just staying on the back of the wave, flicking the bow around very nicely there, and just this last push to the finish line. But yeah, he's going to be easily 88.
Look at those guns. Look at those guns.
I think the fastest estimated time, the best scenario time was 88 seconds, and Joe's just done that with no mistakes.
Yeah.
He didn't have to do anything insane for that. He just made 0 mistakes and pulled as hard as he could the whole way down.
So we do have 10 qualifiers. Clark, Priskovic, Pasui, Watkins, Gilbert, Cowser, Bowers, Tristan, Loente, Eigner, and Eigner, yes.
It's going to be a good final by the looks of it.
Back with us now. Look at those amazing slaymations. What we do know that 10 athletes have qualified for the finals. The final program will start in half an hour. The men's will start in just over an hour. Clark, Puskovic, Pasquid, Watkins, Gilbert, Kauser, Bowers, Peston, Laurenti, Egner, Olympic champions, 3 world champions, some youth. So it's going to be a really interesting and open competition, with all sorts of implications for potential points for Olympic qualifications. It's early because the athletes need time to plan. Summarising the morning.
Yeah, we had some crazy runs coming down from some of the guys. We've got some new faces in the final, which is super cool to see. We also have 3 athletes with 2-second penalties as well, which I was really surprised to see because I thought you'd definitely have to go clean to make the K1 men's final, but there was such a variety of conditions there, some real heartbreaks, but also some amazing victories for younger athletes who maybe haven't been on the finals.
That's Amber, Gabby.
Yeah, so we saw a lot of athletes being up on that first split and just showed how much Yuri put down in that middle section. So yeah, great to see that, and yeah, seeing how testing that bottom half was for all the athletes on the course.
So a
today.
testing course, brutal. Join us in half an hour. Thank you, guests, and we'll speak to you soon.